Welcome to Behind the Sins, where we talk about last week's Behind the Sins episode.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello.
And Danae Hughes.
16-ounce latte. Let's go!
Danae's over here like making me laugh like as I'm trying to say hello, and I think I just sounded like an ass. I was like, hello.
We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well.
I'm feeling it, man.
Danae, you are hyped up. You got some caffeine running through those
hyper.
veins.
Yeah,
What
and
do you
I'm
call
sweating.
those? By the way, going way back, what do you call those cookies? The chocolate chip cookies? What are those called?
Chocolate chip cookies?
No, the ones were the Super Taster store. Because like I was trying to remember what you said. Like you were like very adamant about your Super Taster store, and we will make these types of cookies.
Boy, when you say we're going to go back, you don't even mean back to you don't even mean back to a recent outtake conversation. You don't mean back to an outtake conversation from the beginning of this recording session. You mean like back several weeks ago.
Yeah, but it's in reference to what you were going to do to the couple that you harassed that people are going to find out about in the outtakes this week.
Oh my goodness, Jonathan. Hey, I'm going to go back a little bit, but what are those cookies called?
And I guess that you were going to apologize to them and have those cookies with them. So that conversation just happened. But
man.
I want to remember what those cookies are called. They're like non-flour.
No. I think you're just thinking of the chocolate chips. I like milk chocolate chips instead of semi-sweet.
Oh my God.
Maybe that's what it was. You're not going to make... Never mind. I'm dumb. Ooh. Yeah, you're not going to make semi-sweet.
No. Hey, listen, that was about as good as an intro to this show as I can hope for. Like, if they're all like that, I'm very, very happy. That is fun stuff.
Today's got caffeine.
Oh, man, I'm so ready to go.
Absolutely. Jonathan is taking his let's head back to a different conversation to the next level.
Hey, remember when we talked about Game of Thrones?
Oh, let's get into it, guys. Let's talk about the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sending them how we felt about the show or movie in general, or music video, as the case may be. Starting in TV Sins, Phineas and Ferb. Dude, we're getting the band back together. We are doing some Phineas and Ferbs and excited about it.
This is the only thing I didn't write on this week, so I don't really care.
I know, Jonathan's on every single other script. So Phineas and Ferb has a new movie out on Disney Plus, and in honor of that, we thought we'd run a few Phineas and Ferbs. This was a Dicer Hughes script, so Danae and I wrote on this. We've done Phineas and Ferb. We did the pilot. We've already done the pilot before, and so we've kind of given our initial thoughts. Any change in how you're feeling about this show?
I have fallen madly in love with this show, man. I just
Nice.
it was just this episode and then the one we did after this, just watching it to help. I don't think I shadowed on this one, but I did shadow on the next one. Look forward to that, guys. But yeah, no, for some reason it just started hitting my funny bone in the right way, and I love the characters and I love how smart the writing is. And it's just, I mean, it's definitely a kid's show. Like, it is 100%. Like, this isn't The Simpsons or something. I mean, this is 100% a kid's show, but it is a super, super smart kid's show. And it's really funny. And I think I can see why my daughter never got into it, but I can totally see why adult friends of mine have said they really enjoyed watching this with their kids. And now I guess I'm going to watch it without my kid because she won't watch it with me, but that's okay.
Yeah, when I was sending this, my youngest son heard just like a few notes of one of the songs or something and was like, hey, are you doing such and such episode of Phineas and Ferb? And I was like, yeah, dude, how do you remember that? He's like, Phineas and Ferb was my childhood, man. And he's right. Like, we would watch Phineas and Ferb together all the time.
Yeah.
And it really was like the years, like he was like 5 to 11 when this was on TV. Like, it was perfect for him. And so, yeah, it's just such a beautiful, smart show. I really like it. What about you, Danae?
I don't don't have a lot of history with Phineas and Ferb, like as far as watching it. I think I've talked about that before. But so like even in this one, and we're getting the band back together. As I was writing the script, I even wrote down like, is this the first time that Ferb speaks? Because I'm not used to how this goes. And so, I mean, I think the answer is no. I think he talks briefly in almost every episode.
Yeah, it's one of the running jokes. He has like one sentence, maybe 2 lines.
Yeah, like one line or something. But I think it's clever and fun and silly. I think that maybe I potentially would watch something like this with Iris when she gets a little bit older. But even still, it's silly enough that, like, I don't know, the crazy adventure feels very wacky in that sort of SpongeBob vein where it's literal just goofiness. Nothing, like, there's no way that they could survive this roller coaster. There's no way that they could do these things. But when you suspend that and start to think about like the relationship building and things, I don't know enough about the characters to know if it would be something that would have me come back to the table over and over again. But that might change as we continue to send some more episodes. I'm not sure.
There is a... I'm not going to talk about it. I'll save it for next week because I think it's more applicable to next week's Phineas and Ferb conversation. But there are ways in which this show has not aged well, and so I'm interested to talk about some of those specifically relating to sexism and those kind of things.
The way they treat Candace is
all the females.
That's
actually
that's true. That's very true.
But let's talk about that next week because there's some really good examples in next week's episode.
But this episode in particular was really fun. You know, this is the idea that they're going to help their family unit, the parents, kind of have this romantic reminder and get a band back together. And there's just this really fun music that is at each location, you know, from the music shop to the library to the hair salon. And that was, for me, fun. And I think that's one of the reasons that Phineas and Ferb is addictive and popular is the songs are really inventive.
I was gonna say the music's quite good, and I don't know if that's every episode or if we just happen to be tackling some of the more musically inclined ones. But if they're doing this week in and week out, that's unreal because it's really good music for the most part.
I think the more musical episodes are the ones that fans love the most because of that. There aren't big musical numbers every week, but no, it's good.
But yeah, this was
well. Then I'm not. Never mind. I don't like the show anymore. I'm kidding.
It was a fun episode, although I found several things really annoying about it, which maybe could transition. I'm not sure, but like the whole concert at the end and how it was just insanely sized was infuriating to me.
Oh, nice.
Even in like watching and reviewing some of the episodes we're going to do in the future and seeing the overhead shot of the backyard, I have flashbacks to this massive concert, and I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Why was the car coming from the middle of the yard over? There's no way. Like, it's just that stuff makes me crazy. And it's all over. And I talked about that, I think, last time. The continuity of the world it seems like it's constantly shifting. So yeah, I just don't know kind of where to anchor, like throw my anchor for consistency on the show since I'm kind of along for whatever ride. Yeah. But that aside, like except for that part right there, I had a good time with this episode. I really liked the music in this one.
Yeah, they clearly don't care about continuity or like it's just not like. In fact, they love the humor that comes from not having continuity and not like they will make light of it and be meta about it, and you know, so it's not something they're concerned with. Jonathan, you didn't write on this one. What are some of your thoughts on the video? I
love any Alice Cooper shout out, even though I'm not positive it wasn't making fun of him, but I still enjoyed. Did Barrett write that one?
No, that was me.
Okay.
That was
the
me.
Dave Mustaine threw me a little bit. I didn't know if I guess I'm not surprised you know who Dave Mustaine is, but
no, I actually we will find out more about that in Keeping Tabs. That's my Keeping Tab for this week. So
okay, yeah, because I didn't really. Okay, good, because I didn't completely get what the Sin was saying.
Sure.
So maybe we'll talk about that more in Keeping Tabs. Yeah. Because I did have a question about that. So I'm glad you were the one who wrote it because I was afraid that did Barrett shadow this? I assume.
I don't remember. I'd have to. I mean, I assume so as well.
I thought I did, and then when I watched the video, I was like, I have never seen this video before. I was like, that's our world. Calling Hernanigans on this coif dagger.
Hey, Jonathan.
Yeah.
You were the shadow.
Good God! So I had seen this video before. It seemed brand new to me today. I don't know why.
In fact, that Dave Mustaine sin was one you wrote and put in the.
No, it was not. Because I don't write sins as a shadow.
Don't do that to him.
No, but the calling Hernanigans I thought was really funny. And then, calling Candace Karen was great. I also thought the forgetting anniversaries was interesting to me because that is becoming a common theme all of a sudden in like various CinemaSins and TV Sins scripts I've been working on.
Well, it's
just
a
one of
huge
those
story cliche. Stories as old as time.
Absolutely.
Husbands forgetting anniversaries. Yeah.
And I mean, it's not even, and I guess this isn't really a forgetting, but even murder mystery anniversary, which we're going to talk about later, anniversary plays into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In fact, I have that's a whole other story. But anyways, yeah, I just thought that was interesting. But you're right. No, that just showed how much of a cliche that really is.
And it really does happen in real life. Danae will tell you that sometimes it's even the wife that forgets anniversaries and important dates. So.
Yeah, that's me. That is me. That is me.
Well, there's an episode of a show that I think it's maybe next week. I don't know, real quick, is Bob's Burgers, is that next week?
Yeah, next Wednesday.
So that will have come out by the time this comes out?
Yes.
Well, I just thought it was interesting that there was a show, which I could talk about this when we talk about murder mystery, but there was a show that we recently sent where the anniversary was the same anniversary as mine and my wife's. Which I've never forgotten. But I loved the way they were trying to remember it by doing like multiplication or division, or it was something insane. But I guess we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah.
If it maybe not, maybe we won't. I just took us off on a weird tangent. Hey, what were those cookies again?
Butterscotch morsel.
My favorite thing about that sin was throwing if somebody's forgotten something, it's either an anniversary, a birthday, or garbage day.
Garbage day.
Because it's so true.
Good.
Oh
It
yeah,
is
there
true.
are so many garbage days where I've been like, I hear the truck. I'm like,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
We take our garbage to the dump now. But I've had that happen to me in the past. And then literary assholes I thought was very funny. And
nice.
It was a great video that apparently I had reviewed.
Yeah.
And I've done so much since then. It was like a brand new thing when I prepped. It was great.
It happens.
Legit behind the scenes, y'all don't even know how crazy the last couple weeks have been.
Oh,
So
man.
I'm not surprised the brain wipe that has happened since
Yeah, I've walked through
Well, and
Or
we've
since
done
then.
multiple Phineas and Ferbs. So that's also
It's true. It's true. I'll go next. The also young mom and dad are standing quite a bit above everybody else, meaning they are on elevated chairs. When you tell your kids someday about the ancient art of concerts in the before times, please make the chair standers the villains of your story. That's fun stuff. No, he forgot the day it happened, but not that it did happen. There's a difference, Candace. Is great both for the Karen reference, which is the second Candace Karen reference we've made, and then also because it's such a great distinction to make. It's not like he forgot that he's married. He just forgot the exact day it happened. That's a different thing. Yeah.
Or he didn't forget that they had this cool moment at the concert.
Right.
He just didn't remember what that was like. And that one comes from somebody who boldly, I claim, I accept, I am this person. I forget dates. And I have had many conversations with people who dates are very, very important to them, where I've had to be like, it doesn't mean I don't care about you. I just don't care enough to remember your birthday. No, I don't actually say that. That's horribly rude. But I'm not trying to be rude about stuff. It's just, I'm so in the moment,
Well,
so
I will tell you.
I don't forget someone's important to me. I just sometimes forget when to reach out and say, I am glad you're on the planet on a specific day. Or, I've forgotten our anniversary multiple times. I forgot my husband's birthday many, many times. I'm thankful to God that he knew that my daughter needed to be born on 4/20, so I would never forget her birthday. It's just a problem I have, quote unquote problem. I don't know. So anyway, that's where that sin comes from.
Oh,
it's
no, my wife is January 1st. I think that's partly why I married her, because I'm never forgetting that. All right.
Okay, good. I got this one.
Don't have to worry about that one.
I picked the date of our wedding so that I wouldn't forget it because it rhymes, and then I forgot it. I made my luggage lock my husband's birthday so that I wouldn't forget it, so I could unlock my luggage, and then I locked myself out of the luggage because I forgot his birthday. I'm that person.
I've never had locked luggage. Ooh, look at you, privilege. Ooh.
Ooh, locked luggage.
Me and my locked luggage.
I also enjoyed this journey through history of rock and roll is great, but seems like it's missing something. Something just doesn't feel quite appropriate.
Yeah,
Wait, did I
was
say
good.
that white? That was a fun one to write, and I got some second opinions on that because I wanted to make sure, that it was that it wasn't
Didn't come
insensitive
across.
in any way.
Yeah.
But
I remember this. See, I did remember that. Like, that was the one sin that stood out. Like, maybe I did shadow on this. And then I was like, but I don't remember any of this other stuff.
because it's really a sin about our culture. It's not, this one technically is for me not as much a sin on Phineas and Ferb as it is just how rock and roll is seen as this white art form, but it so very
Absolutely.
much came from the black community.
Absolutely.
So I felt like mentioning that. And then Boob's Hair Salon, I had to point out because it really is disappointing that some kid, didn't knock off the bottom part of that eye and one of the top parts of the B. I mean, it's just so close. So close.
It was literally, when I saw it, I was like, boobies was the first thing.
Yeah.
So I was really glad that you wrote a sin about it because I think I did too. But mine was something, I think I sinned the font and be like, well, that everyone's going to see boobies, so why not just make it boobies?
See, I have letter combination luggage, and I always made it boobies so I would remember.
There you go.
Yeah,
Well, anybody who had a calculator in the 80s.
I was going to say. You all knew how to
And
do
I was
Alan.
actually trying to remember what is it? How did you do it?
Oh, it's 513-80808.
Oh, wow, Aaron.
You've got that down like the Contra password,
that was
man. You
way
got
too
like
fast.
the Contra extra lives.
513-8008. What? You guys don't know that? Come on.
You need to just,
You're over here like up, down, left, right,
Wait,
left, right.
sorry.
BA,
I'll
start,
re-record
start.
it. I'll re-record it. Hold on.
try to pretend
Hold
to
on,
struggle
just a
a
second.
little.
Guys, I think it's something like 5. What would the I be? 1. Well, it's like 5, 1,
Shut up. Okay.
3,
Yeah,
8.
us laughing
What are
really
the O's?
sells
I
this.
can't remember what the O's are. Okay, anyways. Yeah, so fun stuff. What about you, Danae?
Oh man, I am going to do my best to make this quick, but there was some comments that were on the ones that I really liked, so I was just going to reference the comments because there's so many, and then when we get to the comment section, I'll just say skip for me. But
Okay, fair enough.
there was Zora said, I only just clicked on the video, but did you just send Phineas and Ferb for not predicting coronavirus and adding it to their theme song? Kit Kat says, yeah, this guy's sense of humor is whack. Malachi responds, that's
Wait,
what
hold
we do
on.
here.
My favorite part about that is this guy.
This guy.
Which guy? You don't know who
I
got
like
what
the
guy.
Malachi.
And maybe this girl. You don't know.
Yeah,
I like that.
Malachi.
Yeah, I figured he's really busy with the Children of the Corn. But anyways, go ahead.
He goes, that's what we do here. Welcome if you're new. And I was like, cool, man.
That's
Hey,
right.
Malachi. It's like official greeter for our channel.
That's
so
right.
Thank you for that. And
Thanks
then
for coming.
Nix,
Hope you enjoy your stay.
Nix did something pretty cool. Said somebody actually did a quarantine version of the Phineas and Ferb theme song and linked it to YouTube. I've watched it. It's amazing, hilarious, highly recommend it. I'll tweet it. I'll tweet it so you guys can see it because otherwise I don't know how you'll find it in the comment section. But that one was really, really fun to think that we were sitting the coronavirus thing and then someone actually made a coronavirus version of Phineas and Ferb's theme song. Mm-hmm. It's aces.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw it as well. It's good stuff.
SMIBB says, this is easily one of my favorite episodes of all time. Why so many sins?
They don't matter.
Edgar says, welcome to cinema/TV sins. And then I respond in there it's how we show we care.
Welcome. Hope you enjoy your stay.
Mark says he's holding the staple gun backwards. He should have shot his eye out, not staple it, which I didn't find. So great catch there. Allison and others in the chat say that we spelled repel wrong. It's RAPPEL, and I did not know this. It kind of blew my mind. Allison freaks out. It's repel! I have been complaining about this since the episode originally aired. Why does no one care?
Wait, what? Now, hold on. You're going to have to explain that one to me. She's saying repel.
There's a sin where we sin that the kids are rappelling over the stage, and we spell repel like we're repelling someone, pushing them away from each other like a magnet.
I didn't catch that either, yeah.
Repelling from something is RAPPEL. I did not know that, so we have been corrected on that one. Loved the comment from Godzilla. I think we all know that rappelling over a rock stage is probably the safest things those kids did all summer, which was a hilarious joke that should have been made. And then the final one that I loved was from Phoenix Coder, who said, there's a sin at 1:13, which is when we're saying basically the narrator is saying something like, I like Jeremy, but you don't see me making a big deal of it. And this person says this is now proof that Chris is Jeremy's fabled college girlfriend.
What?
So one, I think that means that this person thinks that Aaron, the narrator, is Chris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that,
Which is true.
you have
Chris.
a crush on Jeremy, and
Also
Chris
true.
is the college girlfriend. Anyway, I thought that was hilarious.
There is something about reading through comments sometimes where it's like, you are so wrong. You have no idea how
hilarious.
many different ways you are wrong about how this works. It's like, just listen
Every
to our
once in
podcast. You'll figure it out.
Every once in a while, I'll just get to a comment section and there's just so much fun happening.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before, but the Phineas and Ferb community is one of those where there's just always so much fun being had. But my final comment is they abused books far too much in this episode.
Are they
and I'm glad they got
always?
this in it.
Are they always on summer vacation? Or is
Yes,
that just
that's the whole
specific
conceit of the show. Yeah.
That is the whole conceit of the show. I figured it was with the theme song and everything, but I didn't know. But for all I knew, they changed that up sometimes too because the show's like so insane.
Yeah,
So-
they might. There's like a Phineas and Ferb Ultra fan will probably let us know, but there probably are
Well,
some non-summer
I mean,
episodes.
who knows when I'll actually ever get to really dive into it outside of what we're doing? But
Yeah.
I
Bring
do
on
plan
the
doing that
knowledge.
eventually.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Let's move on to The Boys. The name of the game is the name of the pilot. And this was a Dicer Watkins script. Jonathan and I wrote on this because we didn't want to subject Danae to some of the violence in this one.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I was expecting more.
Oh, really?
Like more violence or more.
Well, I had read the comic book series, and the comic book series is which is kind of why I didn't really watch the show because I liked the comic book, but it was a lot. And just what I had heard people talking about the show, I just kind of assumed. And maybe it gets there, or maybe it's one of those things where I was expecting it to be so crazy that it ended up actually, like.
Well,
I
think because
kinda
I
helped
watched
myself.
it. I think because I watched it all, I just conflate all the different violence into it, whereas you just really saw the kind of the one moment, really.
Yeah, there is the one moment in this one for sure, but it's in a weird way, it's a great moment.
It is a great moment. No, it's a very
It
bold.
really
It's a
is.
very bold moment.
It's awful and great at the same time, I guess.
So, Danae, I'm curious, since you haven't seen this, before Jonathan and I talk about our thoughts on this one, what are your, because sometimes when you haven't seen something, you'll have questions, those kind of things. What were you able to kind of piece together about what's happening in this through the video?
Oof. I was so confused.
I wondered.
Okay, so we have this world where there are superheroes who are paid to go into certain towns and be the hero of a town. And then there's like vigilantes as well. I don't know if that's true. Somebody is caught in the middle. Don't know if he has powers or not, but somehow the person that he was with turned into bloody soup in front of him. I don't know.
Yes,
There's a big
yes,
blur.
Yes.
I don't know why that happened. Don't know what the conflicting powers are. I don't know what was happening in this episode, except for that in the outtakes, there's a hilarious outtake where the guy is like, so you want me to go and plant a bug, which was the only reason I could figure out why other things were happening. I was very, very confused.
I wondered.
I mean, like, and that's something like our job isn't to help somebody understand what happened 100%, but this is one of those where it's like, I know that we're sinning makes sense that we're sinning it, but I don't understand what's happening in the show itself.
I have something else to keep in tabs, so I guess I'll talk about this here. And I didn't actually copy over the sin, so I don't remember exactly what I said, but this was an instance, speaking of that bloody blur, this was an instance where we had to lose a sin that I was really, really sad to lose.
Yeah, me too.
Because we couldn't show what we were sinning because it
Yeah.
was
'cause it was
like
so bloody?
yeah, and it was I don't know. I didn't copy it over, so I can't really say the sin, and I don't know if it would even make any sense without being able to visualize it.
Well, I'll clear up a couple things, hopefully in one blow here with what Danae was wondering about and also the sin you're talking about, because it is the primary moment of this show, period. This is what sets this show to say, this is where we're going, this is the kind of show we're going to be. This is a world where superheroes are real, in a world that tries to attach the human flaws to that sense of power. So the idea that powerful people would be just as backstabbing, conniving, scared, whatever, as a normal human being is kind of the central conceit. So these are corrupt superheroes that are put on pedestals as examples, but really behind the scenes, they're corrupt. The moment at the beginning is a speedster, so somebody who can run really, really fast.
Flash, basically. It's their
the Flash,
version of Flash.
Runs through his girlfriend as they're holding hands and just evaporates her in front of his eyes. And it's just because of the speed or whatever, him running into her just destroyed her, and he's basically left holding her hands and nothing else.
Jesus.
Yeah, and it's graphic in the way it shows it. So, and like when you see, and so this goes into the sin when you see this, super slow mo, blood and
evisceration.
Viscera and bone fragments and all this stuff. There's a part that looks like a corn dog. And so the sin basically ends by just the narrator getting distracted and going, is that a corn dog? But we couldn't really keep it in without showing the grotesqueness, which then tempts YouTube to, disallow advertising kind of thing.
Well, it was one of those great, and Aaron read it well too, because we actually did do it, and then because we went ahead and left it in just to see if we could make it work, and it just didn't. But Aaron, I don't remember what you were saying before that, but it's something along the lines of oh, this is terrible, and just going off on this whole kind of like the way Aaron was explaining what the show is doing, and then at the end just being like, is that a corn dog?
My gosh.
So, yeah.
So we're awful.
So that is so later in the show, for instance, and well, Jonathan, I may be spoiling. No, because you've read the comic, so you know this kind of stuff. And anybody who's listening,
Spoiler alert.
Well, we do spoilers. It's kind of a spoilers situation with Behind the Sins. But this is future episodes. But in future episodes, a woman smashes a guy's head like a grape as he's giving her oral sex. I mean, this is the show that's no, these are the real kind of things that superpowers would lead to on a base level. It is, it's like visualizing the parts of superhero powers that, people don't often visualize.
But it's really, it's very broad and it's very over the top with its portrayal. And I've only seen the first episode. I do plan on to continue to watch it. I really liked this pilot. It's really interesting. And I like the marketing and stuff. I like how they're there's this one scene where we didn't really show much of it, but there's this one scene where Elizabeth Shue is selling one of the superheroes to, I guess, a mayor or something.
Yeah, like the mayor
to
of
protect
Pittsburgh
his
or something,
city.
yeah.
And she's going to give him a 3-year contract to have this Prince Nubian or whoever the superhero was for $300 million. And they're negotiating back and forth. And it's you're sitting there watching it going this is probably what would happen, right? If there really were superheroes, this is the kind of thing that would happen. It would be it would be like a private police force almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's also interesting correlations, right? There's very, you're talking about the superheroes, they're not really having to face any consequences. I mean, the guy that kills the guy's girlfriend, he has to apologize. That's all. He just has to apologize.
Sounds like sports stuff.
It is.
You have a sports player that you get for however many million, and then they get in trouble, and
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. And they're going to pay the guy $30,000 for his
his trauma.
His trauma. Yeah. I mean, it's there's stuff like that I actually found pretty fascinating, more so than the over the top stuff. But then at the same time, there's really cool stuff in here. There's a great fight scene towards the end that I thought was really cool, the way they did it, where Carl Urban is fighting the transparent guy. Translucent, yeah. Where he's actually spitting his own blood on him so he can see him so he can see where to hit him and stuff. I don't know. It's a very clever device. I don't know. I enjoyed it overall.
And that guy told the other, okay, I know I'm using such general terms here, but dead girlfriend guy doesn't know that the other person isn't FBI.
Isn't FBI.
Yeah, so the boys is, I don't know how the show does it, but I know in the comic, basically there's this group of people that are kind of trying in their own way to keep the superheroes in check.
Gotcha.
It's almost like an IA or something, internal affairs, but not on the up and up.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an underground organization.
Underground organization. Yeah, it's a UIA. It's an underground internal affairs. But they're seeing all this destruction that's caused and all this stuff that's covered up, and they want people to know about it. And
gotcha. So he's kind of part of that group. Gotcha.
And he ends up becoming part of that because he suffered I mean, I could already see they were handling it a little different in the show. So like I said, I don't know exactly where it goes. But yeah, no, it's interesting stuff though. I'm interested enough I'm intrigued enough to add it to my list of things to watch, which is ever growing.
I
got 300 episodes of Phineas and Ferb to get through first.
Right,
That's right.
first, yeah.
I watched
Priorities.
the entire first season within a day or two.
Second season, I think, dropped today, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think what I'm struck by the most in this show is what you're talking about is the well thought out world building and the boldness to go to places that let you know we're really going to think this through to its human element and not, sugarcoat any of it. So there was something very profane's not the right word. Vulgar's maybe a better word, but a vulgarity in a way that serves a story purpose. It really serves a purpose to say these are the human things that we all know as part of our lives, whether it be violence or sex or whatever the case may be, or part of our world, I should say, that we just really have never put into these superhero worlds, and we're the show that's going to do it. And in order to do that, we have to tear down all of those walls and be willing to to really show it. So
and it works well on both levels too, right? Because if vulgar, profane stuff, if that's just your kink, if that's what you're into, like that's the kind of movies and stuff you like to watch, you're going to get that here.
Yeah.
But if you also are like me and you, where we enjoy the the other stuff as well. I mean, I think it's just it's built to service a lot of different types of audiences. The cast is really good too.
Yeah.
I mean, Carl Urban, Elizabeth Shue. I like all the people playing the superheroes. I've heard that Chase Crawford's really good. I mean, I only saw him a little bit in this episode as the Deep, but I've heard a lot of people talk about how he's really good on the show.
He is, but this show has an element of over the topness to it that it does a fairly good job keeping balance. But if I had one complaint with the show, it's that sometimes it's a little too silly and it just kind of loses sight of that stuff a little bit. And so, I mean, it's a treacherous balance to take to do serious and silly the way that the show is doing it. And I don't know that it always succeeds, but
and I really liked Erin Moriarty. Really stood out to me in the first episode. She plays the new
she's great
inductee.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd ever seen her in anything before. So she looked very familiar, but I think she just reminded me of other people because when I looked at her IMDb, I'm like, I don't think I've seen her in anything. But yeah, so that's good to hear that she stays really good on it.
Danae, why don't you transition us into the video itself now that maybe you understand a little bit more of the context? What's some of the stuff you
that
like?
eliminates at least 3 of the things I had written down. The fake out moment of anger being overused, like the boy who cried wolf. That was a nice reference, that like there's a moment when the guy reaches across the table and he's angry, but the sin is like, this is like a fake out and the boy crying wolf and I can't believe anything anymore. I thought that was a nice way of kind of referencing that some things are overused, but I just wanted to point out I still fall for that every time because I am that person.
My favorite part of that is the misexplanation of the Aesop fable, where it's like that one Aesop fable where the wolf got so sad about the sheep he was hunting that he wouldn't stop crying. It's like it's like obviously delivered by a person who never actually read the fable, just know it's the cried wolf thing and just trying to figure it out.
I wrote down that levitation sex is probably disappointing, and then this is my notes on it. I can almost hear the character narrator telling himself that that's true so that he doesn't want to have levitation sex.
I still think the comparison to waterbed sex is apt. Look, if you can enjoy waterbed sex, that's fine, but that was not a great experience.
But if there's no sloshing sound, are you sexing right? Question mark, I don't know. Leaving this, the leaving the seat up joke, just the delivery of that one was so funny. Like, hey, I'm taking a stand for the big issues here. Bravery takes many forms. Just that sort of, it was just a fun, casual joke. But then I'm going into the comments again because Lori Lynn wrote something that I thought was amazing about IP serials, and I highly recommend that you go find it.
I saw that, yeah.
Literally writes, the entire main Marvel lineup had cereal this year. On top of that, there was a various imitation Lucky Charms type cereal released for Star Wars. None of them were very good, she says. The Elf on the Shelf got Elf on the Shelf sugar cookie cereal, which was supposed to be like a sugar cookie version of Cookie Crisp with marshmallows, but tasted absolutely disgusting, fake vanilla to the max. Oh, and Kung Fu Panda had Kung Fu Crunchers, which I did not try, but I saw in stores. So yes, they quite regularly still do IP-based cereals, but they are generally not very good. And what was hilarious to me about this long comment was that this person, whoever this person is, is the person that buys every IP cereal, tries it, and is disappointed every time.
I love that too, man. I love cereal discussion too. So that was a favorite comment of mine.
On the heels of last week, where we got some really fun comments on our cereal conversation, and then the comments underneath Lori's is like Micah weighs in that he ate Star Wars cereal on May the 4th, and then Gamer writes in that there was also Overwatch based, and that there's Lucio. It's like there's all this stuff. I was really impressed with that comment, and I just wanted to take the time
let me defend
to...
myself here just a second.
It's not what it used to be, though. As a child of the 80s.
Yeah,
right?
Let me just say this.
Like Mr. T cereal at one point.
Yes,
in time?
let me say this. You are correct. They still make IP cereals. They would not be on a gas station shelf. In the 80s, Mr. T cereal was in the grocery aisle. It was a thing that people could buy at the grocery store. These are one-time runs that you buy on the internet or whatever the case may be. They are not on the local grocery shelf.
Gas stations, maybe you get Frosted Flakes.
Maybe.
I totally missed that we were in a gas station.
Yeah.
I missed that completely.
Well, even a grocery aisle, you're not going to find Overwatch cereal at your Walmart. It's just not there. But
or
Mr.
Bootios.
But Mr. T
You're not
cereal
find
was.
Bootios.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bootios. That's amazing.
Okay, go ahead. That's all I got.
All right. Let's see. I'll go next. Considering all the movies and merchandising based around the 7, there's zero chance they don't know that Homelander is invincible to bullets. I really loved that point because a lot of times you can just say, oh, well, they should know Superman is invincible to bullets. But in a world like this, you have proof that they should know that. These people are the most famous people in the world. That entire look around Times Square was all those superheroes. Like, this is something people know. So I really liked that point.
We got called out on our wordplay there, though.
Oh, yeah?
I'll go ahead. I had a bunch of comments, so I'll mention that one. But what is it? You're either invincible. Okay, so the other one said you're either invincible or you aren't. You can be impervious to bullet, though.
Yes, I have heard that distinction as well. There's a difference between invincibility and bullet immunity.
I'll live with that, though. I don't feel like we said anything incorrectly.
I liked Jonathan's. You might not actually get the check, but I will offer it to you. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I like that too.
It makes me laugh. And then, except for Boston, of course, because I mean, it's Boston. Was really fun.
Which all I did was I used a random, like a city name randomizer on the internet to find my city. Like I didn't even there was nothing behind that other than I was like, oh, this will be
you
fun.
Weren't trying to
Let me just
go
find
for
one
Boston.
of these random.
That's fun.
It was just a random city generator, and Boston was the one that came up, and I was like, that's perfect.
Well, I wouldn't have needed a random city generator to come up with Boston, whatever that says about me. And then the other puns I wanted to bring up were the A-Train's Quicker Quaker Oats was fun, and consulting the Urban Dictionary, which I may put in my scrapbook. I may put that one in my scrapbook. That's one of my favorites that's ever come to my brain. So
yeah, that was one of those too where I was a little irritated because I was hoping because whenever you hear somebody define something, you're always like, oh, I hope they got it wrong, or I hope they set it off just enough to where we can make an annoying sin about it. But no, he was dead right. And so, but Aaron came up with the Urban Dictionary sin, which was even better than anything else. So that worked out perfectly.
What about you, Jonathan?
You guys got a lot of them. Who sits on park benches? I thought was really funny. And the idea, everybody was that crowd at the shareholders meeting, and we were just like, that is a large crowd at a fucking shareholders meeting. Now, mind you, they were introducing a new hero. I guess that would be a big deal, but I don't know. The whole thing seemed a little odd. And just, as someone who watches a lot of movies and has had a lot of favorite things from movies, completely leave my mind eventually, just because so many other movies take it. I really appreciated Aaron bringing the Babysitter Blues back to my my memory, because I had not thought about that in forever.
What was that one?
It's from Adventures in Babysitting. We just played a little bit of it, but it's when Elizabeth Shue is at the shareholders meeting and she's talking. Aaron put the babysitter thing, Adventures in Babysitting clip in there. That was
really good.
And then you just hear the dun-na-na-na, which is perfect. I got to show that movie to my daughter, by the way. She would love that movie. But,
yeah.
Anywho,
I'm excited for season 2, and hopefully it'll
maybe you'll be talking about that next week.
Who knows? Let's move on to music video sins for the week. We're going to talk about our own video, BTS Dynamite. So you didn't know that we recorded this song called Dynamite, but we have sinned it. This is BTS singing in English.
Your heart.
What'd Barrett have to say about this video?
BTS are my adorable little Korean smack-a-muffins. It's easy to see why they stand head and shoulders above other K-pop groups. This is not even a very good video, but I like it because I get to see my little boo-boo smickens running around and dancing and singing, and it's all adorable. That's all he had to say about that.
Well, fine. That works. He's got a crush on BTS. I get it.
He basically calls them his little boo-boo muffins, and that's it.
Yeah. No, that's great. I'm fine with this stuff. It was interesting to see them doing the English thing, the whole way through.
Yeah, I think that was, I don't know if it was disappointing. I mean, Blackpink's doing that more now, too. I mean, a lot of these more popular bands are just kind of going almost strictly to English. And I don't know, the language barrier was kind of part of the fun for me. So I don't know that I like this as much.
Totally agree. I totally agree. I think
there's nothing wrong with the song, but...
No, I love the original, and part of this maybe comes down to like the subs versus dubs conversation that sometimes we have in movies, where it's just like there's something when somebody is speaking in their most comfortable language where their acting is better, their passion is better, they are even the rhythm is better, I think, when you're doing that, because you understand how words are rhythmic better in your own language than, and I'm not saying they did bad. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying I like it better when it's original language, when it's your native tongue.
Maybe it still would have come off the same either way, but I did find it interesting that some of the stuff they were doing, it almost felt like they were just slapping together like American Mad Libs and stuff. Like,
yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'd rather you just sing a song about it, like whatever you're feeling. Like, you don't have to like say like hot dog and football and what
right,
I don't know. Yeah. They don't say those things, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it kind of just felt almost like a Mad Libs exercise at times.
No, I think that's right.
But it's a fun song. It's an energetic. It's a perfect like end of the summer kind of jam. I've never been as big on them as Barrett has. I've always. And I don't know, and maybe it's a visual thing. I've always preferred Blackpink, but I don't know. I don't think I like BTS quite as much as he does, but I get why they're so popular, and they have diehard fans.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
yeah,
in fact, half
BTS.
the comments are always like, "Where's the army? The army is going to come after you for sinning." But they've always been very nice to us for the most part.
Yeah. Well, we have the same name. Danae, what are your thoughts?
I have very little experience with them, so I don't have a previous like them singing Korean versus English, but I'm with you. There was something about like watching them perform this where you can kind of tell they're having to think about the English rather than just perform.
Right.
Which would be the case if anyone was trying to sing something or perform something in a language that they're not as comfortable with. But I think that this band is beautiful and fun to watch and intriguing. Now, after talking to you guys, I think I would want to go back and watch some other videos just to like do like a comparison, because I agree with you. There was a sense of cliche. This is a song of cliches, and it's like musical cliches or summertime cliches. And sometimes those make really, really fun pop songs. But to me, they were even cliches that didn't make sense together.
Yeah.
For sure. Like milk and rock and roll.
Yep.
That was a really good, sin to point that stuff out. But at the same time, if you want to break down dumb lyrics, there's so much out there that we could talk about. So
absolutely.
I definitely don't think this is a bad on them for this song. I just think it was something I was like, oh, okay, that's not something that's really intriguing to me.
Apparently, you've never seen the Ozzy Osbourne Got Milk commercial. What did you guys think about the video? I
liked it a lot. They I always loved the sins where the not pictured anywhere, so I was really glad Barrett put one of those in there where it was not pictured anywhere night. I also loved Barrett's bemoaning of the functioning record shop. His laughter breakdown into just depression. And this is that's a narrator thing, but that's a legit thing. Like, for people that don't know Barrett, I mean, he's physical media when it comes to music. He is huge on, like, he listens to Spotify and stuff like that, but he still buys CDs and he still buys vinyl, and like he's very much a proponent of that. So that's a legit sadness that he has. It
was really funny how it's like the laugh that just sort of like dwindles into this It was good. That was fun.
Why does my mind immediately gravitate toward the term circle jerk was very funny. And what made that even funnier is one of the BTS members, it's Rap Monster, but he's kind of like on the end of that group. And he just has this really weird, like this really goofy smile on his face right as Barrett says circle jerk. So it just like, it's one of those moments that just worked perfectly with the visual context. And then we have one of 2 videos this week where we mentioned Gotham City and Metropolis.
Of course.
Being across the bay from each other, because that's how this works.
That's right. That's right. Danae, what about you?
No, I already mentioned the milk, and you mentioned several of them, but the use your glutes for leapfrog.
I had that one too, yeah.
How he encourages these scripts to me are just, they're genuinely hilarious. So I had a fun time with this one.
I also like he was bemoaning all the prep work that he did at the beginning, which just was such a mood for BTS each week. And it's just like,
such a
what did I do all this
mood
prep work for? And then I had to mention the key modulation sin, which I thought was really funny. Mm-hmm. And then I have a problem with it too, because how do you not mention Barry Manilow when you're talking about key modulations? I mean, he is the king.
Very, very, very easily. You just talk about Barry Manilow. No, I love Barry. He's great.
He's the king of key changes, man.
He really is. No, he really is.
So I wanted to mention those too.
But the most important thing out of all this, though, is that Lisa is the prettiest member of Blackpink. I don't even know if we left that in last week's episode. I can't even remember. So that might make no sense. I think you did. I think you did.
We did. Because whenever I heard it, I was triggered all over again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to trigger you. I was just...
No. It's just, I don't understand why that's a thing. Why do we have to compare beauty?
Sense. No, they're all 4 of them are insanely beautiful women.
All humans are beautiful.
All humans are beautiful. But
that's right.
But you are just naturally more attracted to different people, right?
Yeah, like but that there's an actual vote on a international scale for someone's beauty is to me really, really weird.
That's a completely different thing.
Danae's not upset that you're most attracted to Lisa. That's a thing.
No.
We all have attractions.
You can be attracted to who you're attracted to. It's when it's just like when I can Google search who's the prettiest and the internet has agreed that there's one who is prettier than the other.
Right. And I did not know that was going to happen when I said that. So
I know that was so funny.
That was even better. But the important thing is also they're like all like 23. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm that's really weird. So I'm just like, no.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, where we talk about last week's Behind the Sins episode. Let's move on to CinemaSins. We'll start with Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yes, it's a thing. This was a Dicer Watkins script. Jonathan and myself wrote on this with Chris shadowing and adding some sins in there as well. So maybe we can get Chris's thoughts first, since as the shadow, I know he wrote some stuff.
He said, yeah, I had the same impression as everyone else when I saw there was a Batman versus TMNT movie. Why did I put this on the schedule? Because it's exactly the nutty kind of thing that seemed perfect for September. Much like Batman v Superman, the title is a bit of a lie. There's a fight, but it's not the crux of the movie. Like almost every animated Batman property, they have to find a way to get all the classic villains in the movie somehow, and it's a diversion that really derails the movie. Aaron and Jonathan wrote most of the Sins video. They were amazing. They were great. I love them very much. They're awesome.
Wait, said none of that.
Wait, I think you're adding some stuff there. I mean, not that I don't think Chris believes those things, but it doesn't seem Chris's personality to write them.
Oh, right. I need to really adapt his tone.
Did he mention who? Did he say who he thought was the prettiest Black King? Is he a Rosé fan?
Jeremy is the prettiest because he is the college girlfriend. He says, I think my favorite thing to pick on, and they had even more observations about it, was the turtles' easy discovery of the Batcave. Sidebar, that was freaking amazing. I loved it. I think it was ludicrous that they even knew that he lived in a cave, but they also used some sort of algorithm to show sightings around all the known caves around Gotham, like Batman regularly fights crime around Gotham's caves.
I think all 3 of us wrote something about how stupid that was, and I think all 3 of us have at least a sentence involved in that series of sins that was ours about that, because it was dumb.
And
I
that
had fun.
that's all he had to say. So yeah, what did you guys think about like when you were writing this one?
I surprisingly had a lot of fun watching this movie. I feel like an optimistic Aaron here talking about this movie, but no, I had a lot of fun with this. This is kind of one of those things like when you're a kid, you're like thinking about all your, favorite, characters teaming up together, and it rarely actually works when they do. But this was a case where I thought they kind of pulled it off. Like I'm actually kind of surprised at how well those two properties merge. I never really thought about it that much, but because the team up of Shredder and Ra's al Ghul, for instance, which is where they should have left the villains, by the way.
Yeah.
Maybe the Penguin, that was fine, but when you start including everybody else, it just got ridiculous. But that made sense, that felt right. That they would have things to trade each other. There's actually there's funny moments in this. There's actually humor in this that works, but at the same time, they kind of take it seriously, which also kind of works. I don't know. It's not great or anything. I mean, it's a direct-to-video, direct-to-DVD DC animated movie, but DC and whoever owns Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I guess. But I thought it was entertaining for the most part. I agree with everything Chris said though about what kind of derailed it at times.
I think to me, it is the quintessential what should be straight to DVD, should have been half an hour, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
It's obviously stretched out. It's obviously pandering. It's very much a something that was created because it could make money, and let's figure out how to do this. Having said that, it's not awful. I mean, and especially if you're a fan of either of these properties, it's fun. Here's the thing: crossovers can be cheap, but they're also really fun. I think of the DC universe on the WB in the or CW. I can't believe I said WB.
Yeah.
On the
I agree.
on the CW, the Arrowverse crossovers. That's some of my favorite television. And I only watch one of those shows, but I watch all of those crossovers. Crisis on Infinite Earths was really fun because there's something fun about combining all these different IP properties that you love. So I get that. It's not a great movie, but it can still be really fun.
Not great. I don't want anybody to think I'm saying it's great,
No,
but I
no.
was I was surprised that I will say I enjoyed it more. We've done a few of these. We did the Justice League Dark movie, and I did Batman. Well, Batman Mask of the Phantasm was actually a theatrical film, but I feel like I swear to God, I've done another one of these.
Well, I know I did the Red Mask. What's
we did that one.
Red
Hood. Yeah, we did that one. That's right. I liked this better than those two. I had more fun, let's say, with this one than I did those.
Which
two.
you have to with the Turtles. The Turtles are fun. You have to have more fun.
I don't know
You
as
have
much about.
to. You
I
have
don't know
to,
as
you
much
guys.
about the Turtles, but that Fly character, God, I loved him.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum.
That scene where, the Jeff Goldblum, when he said the thing about, wait, that sounds more like a hostage scenario. I was dying.
Yeah, he's the funniest part of the movie. I should clarify, it's not Jeff Goldblum. It's just somebody doing a Jeff Goldblum
it's
imitation.
Really not.
But,
for sure.
But it's absolutely 100% a Jeff Goldblum imitation.
Definitely.
Yeah. Danae, what did you think of this video?
Oh, I had so many that I wrote down. I had a really good time with this one. The one at a time-itis regarding the throwing stars. That was just a really fun kind of play on that issue. The open container near electronic equipment is a huge no-no, and I learned this when I worked at the recording studio with Aaron.
Yeah, what?
And I would come in with all these open containers of liquid, and I would set them down near really expensive equipment. And I'll never forget, because Aaron doesn't get mad. He gets stern, and he'd just look over and be like, you probably should move that.
Did he tell you to ask everybody on the trail what they thought?
No. I don't know what you're referencing right now.
The bike ride.
No.
Oh, God.
He was
Wow.
ask everybody on the trail.
Ask everybody that's been a partner with me before. This is important.
But it's so true. And I remember sitting the same thing when we did a Breaking Bad, because he sets his coffee on top of this huge vat of, I don't know, drug making equipment. So I thought that was fun. The needlessly vague 30% sign on the store window.
Yeah.
Those kind of observations I love. Stuffed up his cloaca. Got a good laugh from me. The wheel handle, the forced man toes around here Michelangeloist common denominator.
It's such a bad portmanteau, but it's perfect because we're trying to do a forced portmanteau.
It felt like they were trolling us for like 30 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
Like, no joke. I know they weren't, but they were just, because I think that's very Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles-esque, but it was just, it felt very much like they were just trolling like CinemaSins or something, the way they were.
Michelangelo.
And you even had the one where you had Donnie take the sin for us.
Yes,
on that one.
I wrote that one down as well, just how well that played out, because even later on, he takes the sin about the Batcave reveal. So fun to kind of point it out here and then have a payoff later. But yeah, I have so many more written down, but it was a lot of fun.
No, please keep telling us how awesome we are.
I
Keep
really
going.
need to stop saying it was a lot of fun. You know how like yours was, what was the one that you say all the time, Aaron, that people drank to? Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
You will be smashed ass drunk for the rest of the week if you drink every time I say it was fun.
No, mine's fun stuff. Like at the end of every segment, it's like fun stuff.
It's fun stuff. Like don't focus on it, please. But now that I said it, you're going to just be careful.
We're humans.
Let's talk about how Aaron doesn't like Batman fans. Because there's everything in here where it's like referencing to him being a detective and to Robin being Batman's son. That was all Aaron, like, just like,
fun.
Yeah, I guess you guys are jizzing all over the place, but I don't know what the hell's going on.
Speaking of jizzing all over the place, that cloud spermer, you guys.
They kept saying that too. They said that like probably 50 times. And they keep saying cloud seeder.
I'd like to be clear.
I know you're writing as a narrator, anyways. You're not writing for yourself. So.
No, I'd like to be clear here. I added the word juice as well because that covers both genders. Okay, so.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you didn't have a problem with the Batman fans. No, you're just talking about how you were supporting women as well.
That's right. I'm all for raunchy gender equality here. So
no, I agree. The detective thing, I'm glad we had that in there. I think Chris even noted that he was glad we put something in there because that is true. Like that's something that you hear all the time. But he's a great detective.
No, I've just noticed it recently with Batman stuff. Is like the fans love it when you call him a detective, and it's that's not untrue. That's not untrue. I think even Jeremy has said that. Yeah, interestingly enough, the other part you mentioned, did I have it in the comment section? I'll say it anyway. I don't think I did. But there were a lot of comments on the other part of that about, which Robin it was. Mm-hmm. And every single comment was like, well, duh, it's this Robin because of this. And I'm like, that was the point of my sin, is that you were going to say this in the comments. Like the whole point was, yes, I know it gives it away which one it is, but the casual viewer doesn't know that. And you're not the casual viewer. I am. I don't know which Robin it is. And so it's kind of one of those things where all the comments proved my point, even though they thought that they were disproving my point.
Yeah, it's like, this is what we do, everybody.
Yeah. Continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, you're fine. There really is a limit of how much punk block kick I can take. I thought that was really good, which was a very good explanation of the animated fight scenes. And then I had a lot of stuff that Danae already mentioned. The roll credits moment was really funny when you were talking about, like, I don't think I've ever seen a more roll credits moment that wasn't a roll credits moment, but is totally a roll credits moment, or however you put that.
Well, it's so true because and sometimes people just think it's, when they say the name, that's roll credits. That's not actually true. It's really more about when you say the name like it's a big deal. It's like, and that's why I call it The Prestige. It's like when you say the name in a way that's like emphasized. And the way they're like teenage, mutant, ninja, turtles. That is such a roll credits moment, even though it's not the name of the movie. So yeah. Ninja Proof Notebooks was really great. I loved that. I loved the way Jeremy delivered, "You've treated my mercy carelessly, and you shall now pay the price." that was really fun.
Great.
How is Leonardo not getting shot right now? The bullet should be at least ricocheting off his plot armor. was fun. I would give All the Sins back right now plus 300 if the demonstration involved one Mr. Robert Matthew Van Winkle giving us a little go ninja, go.
Man, getting to say his full name is like my favorite thing ever.
It is great.
So I was glad that got kept in the way it was. That's Vanilla Ice for those that may not know who that is, but I think most people do.
Van Winkle?
Yeah, his real name is Robert Matthew Van Winkle. That's Vanilla Ice.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Assuming you have the knowledge of a doctor without being one, also known as 2020, really made me laugh. And then this one was so fun to me because I just had this realization that I'd seen this plot before. Assuming you it starts with, so this machine will rain down mutation on citizens, turning them all into, let's just say, mutants, which will create chaos and thwart superheroes by making the whole population no longer men and women, but X-Men,
and women.
I swear I've seen this plot in another movie. What was that called?
What was it called again?
The Amazing Spider-Man. Because both of those movies do that. That was a really fun one to construct.
Pointed that one out because that was in my list of ones I didn't mention because that was so good.
Well, it's just true. The first X-Men movie and The Amazing Spider-Man both have this exact same plot. So it's just crazy how that kind of stuff happens. So, all right, let's move on to Murder Mystery. This was a Cher Watkins script. So Barrett and Jonathan wrote on this one.
Yeah, you did.
What Barrett have to say about Murder Mystery?
What did Barrett have to say? Well, he said, murder mystery is butt. Adam Sandler phoning this shit in from a yacht in the Mediterranean. I bet he and Jennifer Aniston have at least done some heavy petting in the past. His mustache makes me ill. I hope this helps.
I will say, if there is anything good to take from this movie, and I'm struggling, and this was the second, I had watched this before, sadly, so this was the second and basically third time I had seen it, because I ended up having to watch it pretty much twice. But,
yeah, of course.
But they actually do legit have, chemistry, kind of.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah. She plays really well off of his kind of I don't give a shit attitude towards every Adam Sandler role. She's kind of great. She I don't know. I feel like she plays off of that better than say Drew Barrymore, who a lot of people think he does really well with. I kind of prefer him with Aniston. They feel like a couple, when you're watching the movie. And she actually kind of gives a good performance.
I was going to say, if anything saves this movie, it's her. She is, I love her so much. And I think you talk about them being good together, and they are, but I think it's primarily because she is just so believable with what she does. I think she's a really good actress.
But I think rightfully so, she's a great actress, but I think rightfully so, we pointed out that her character is not very likable in parts of it, because there are parts of it where you're just kind of he sucks, but she's kind of being an ass too. It's she's not completely in the, off the hook right now. But no, yeah, she is far and away the only thing that really works, because all of the the suspects or whatever, they're just also over the top. And Luke Evans is fine, and there's actors in there that I really like. All of a sudden, I can't remember the main actress's name that's not Jennifer Aniston in the movie.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
She's been in a ton of stuff too. I really like her.
I'll look it up.
But anyways, it's not a good movie, and it's really not a good movie. The second and third time you watch it.
When did this come out?
2019. It came out I want to say spring or something on net. It was Netflix. It was a Netflix movie.
So it's just interesting for me to have just recently watched Just Go With It.
Oh, yeah.
And then see this one. And I'm like, man, it's just, I know that there's obviously a different plot, but to see the two of them together, but in a different plot, it definitely has that Adam Sandler-esque, style to it, where the same actors kind of get together to entertain and do a comedy.
I don't think I've seen any of his other Netflix movies all the way through. I think I've seen bits and pieces of a couple of them. This feels like it's probably the best of his Netflix movies, but I could be wrong. But
I haven't watched Adam Sandler in a long time. He's okay to me. There's a couple of comedians I just don't find as funny as maybe other people do, and so Will Ferrell's another one for me that most people, when he had that long run of comedies that were just coming out one after the other after the other, and it was just I just don't find him that funny. Elf is the exception for me. I really liked him in Elf, but I don't know
No, I
that
hear
I
you.
would watch this, except for that I also sometimes just watch trash stuff just for fun. So maybe I would have watched this.
Well, it is on
I
Netflix,
watched
which is
it.
where everything you watch comes from. so-
Apparently, that's
Yeah.
that's where I live now.
And I watched it because I really like murder mysteries, and I like murder mystery comedies when they're done well, but they're normally not done well. Like when you watch something like Knives Out, like it's unbelievable like how well they pull that off, because
Yeah.
it's not easy to pull that off. It's not easy to make like investigations exciting or fun or amusing, and murder mystery is proof of that. Like, because and that's another thing. This movie is so lazy. Like Adam Sandler's freaking doing it, of course it is, but like they don't even really solve the mystery. They just kind of accidentally solve it. Like they even admit that they're winging it. Like they have no idea who did it, but they're just going to go in there and act like they do.
They kind of Clouseau their way into it. It's just it's one of those things.
But Clouseau actually thinks he knows what he's doing, is the difference, right?
Right,
Like
yeah.
so that's why that works.
I also, because of these last two Sins movies that are like the Adam Sandler, Jennifer Aniston movies, you guys point out that these are made on vacations. And I guess I never really thought about that being a thing, but it seems to be a thing.
Yeah,
where
He's admitted it. I think he's admitted that.
Totally.
Like I think he's flat out, because Grown Ups 2 was totally made because he wanted to go to Hawaii or wherever they went. He flat out said that.
it kind of makes sense in a way,
Sure.
I guess, because you obviously are a movie maker and you want to go to cool places, so why not couple it with family kind of thing? So I guess I get it.
100%. More power to him. People do enjoy
too.
it. They do well. Like it's
Yeah, exactly. He has an audience.
Right.
The audience just may not be the three of us, but he has an audience, and
more
all
power
power
to
to
him.
him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that was kind of fun to like, oh hey, here it is happening again. This is a theme. This does happen.
Yeah.
I just whenever I think Barrett pointed it out in the Just Go With It. I think I wrote with Barrett. Anyways, the person that I wrote with on Just Go With It pointed it out, and then to see it here was just kind of like, oh, this is a thing.
Oh yeah, that's true, because Barrett worked on both of this, so we had like mutual, like Barrett did all the like the buttoned up and stuff like that.
The button again. That's right.
And then you sent that picture in Slack the other day, where
Yeah.
just that random picture. It's like he does not button his shirt. Had you seen this before, Aaron? Had you already watched this?
Yeah, I watched
Okay.
this. I primarily because I like murder mysteries.
Yeah.
And I like Jennifer Aniston. And so, speaking of which, what did I recently? Oh, We're the Millers. I recently rewatched. That is a funny movie. She's great in that. Anyhow, that's
the one where she is that Jason
With Sudeikis? Yeah.
Yes, that movie is quite that movie has a really fun cast.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's one of those things where Sandler movies anymore don't necessarily appeal to me, but if there's a hook or another actor in there that I want to see, I'll throw them on. They're very casual entertainment for me.
Low
and
expectations.
Low
And
expectations.
I believe they're making Murder Mystery 2. I will absolutely watch that, because
Sure.
if it's a murder mystery, I'm watching.
Sure.
I watch Hallmark murder mystery movies, so I'm in.
Let's get into the video itself. I'll go first. Why are they in the women's restroom? Was a good sin. I liked that.
We both had sins about that, actually, which was really funny.
Nice. Gymnast acrobats in those tiny buttholes from Downsizing really made me laugh.
I read that. Barrett wrote that. I read that one like two different ways when I was reviewing the script. I was like, wait, does he mean actually tiny? Because it works either way.
It does work either
I
way.
haven't seen Downsizing either, so that's why I had to question it.
Oh man, talk about a disappointing movie. Probably deserved that poison dart to the throat for being terrible at charades. That whole concept just made me laugh. And then I had to give a shout out to I think you mean to say it makes sins instead of it makes sense.
That was my favorite.
That made me smile as well. What about you, Danae?
I wrote down many of those. We already talked about the buttoning thing, so I'm glad that kind of made it back around again. Wow, look at how much Adam got into his character. He looks nothing like his roles from blah, 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 blah. He has a mustache.
Yeah.
It was really funny. The sternum stab was interesting because, and I don't know if the guys understood, but in Slack, I just randomly wrote to Barrett and Jonathan that I had a dream once that I killed somebody by stabbing them through the sternum. and it's the only time I've ever killed someone in my dream, and it was absolutely terrifying. Because the sin is like, how do you stab somebody through the sternum? Like, and I in my dream like actually felt the resistance of the sternum, the crunching noise. It was very traumatic. I killed a witch with a iron hot poker that was from a set from the fireplace in order to save the world, because she was chanting a chant that if she completed would kill everybody, and I was the only one that could save everyone. So I sacrificed my innocence by murdering someone.
So they do stab. So they do die from sternum stabs, is what you're saying. So Barrett was wrong.
Well, at least in this dream, it was very difficult to do, but I did succeed in saving everyone, and it was difficult.
This is why I'm glad we always have two writers, though, because like this was a scene that like did not faze me. Like I didn't think anything of it. They stabbed a guy, he died, but then Barrett is 100% right. You know, everything he brings up, and he's very passionate about it too. You know, like how did they stab him, and like, you know, how did they get it through there, and would that even kill him? And
it would be difficult. And I was like, you guys didn't even bring it up in Slack. I was just like, by the way, guys, I had a dream once that I stabbed somebody in the sternum, and there was never a comment made afterwards. I was like, okay, we're gonna avoid that one.
Maybe I envisioned a conversation that didn't happen.
Point of order, Danae. Point of order. If somebody is chanting something and it's going to, you know, destroy the world if they finish their chant.
Right.
I'm going to think you go with strangling. Like, instead of stabbing, like they could have a few more minutes to keep chanting. Like, if you're strangling, you're actually stopping the problem and killing them. So
listen, there's only so much of my dreams I can be in control of.
Why didn't you, like, pull her tongue out and cut it off?
Yes.
Right.
Like,
right.
Eat it in
with
front
a
of her.
butter knife and then eat it.
I was it's an interesting thing. I was at this I was at this camp when I had this dream, and it was this land that was owned by actual people who like were Wiccan or they were agnostic. There's just a group of various people who mostly just worshipped the earth and not like a god, or they worshipped gods and goddesses of like lore. Anyway, it's an interesting part of my history of me going and visiting this place. There's reasons that I went there, but this was the last time that I went, because when I woke up from that dream, it was so real and so terrifying. I was like, I don't know what that means, but I think maybe I'm not ever coming back here again.
Fair enough.
It was so scary. Anyway.
Any other things from the video you wanted to mention?
No, that just traumatized me enough that I stopped watching it.
Fair enough.
No, it didn't. I didn't have anything
Danae
else
was
written
about to live like Midsummer. Like she was about to be the maid.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And then her boyfriend at the time was going to get put in a bear suit and
Yeah.
burned alive. Oh, sorry. Spoilers for Midsummer, by the way. Whoops. A movie that's barely 2 years old.
I get it. Barely. On to keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're each going to tell a story from putting together the content for the week. Maybe a Google search, some strange research, a traumatic dream, whatever the case may be. Let's start with, since I mentioned mine, why don't we start with mine? You mentioned the sin about reformed rockers, and this is basically just a joke, a wordplay joke on the word reformed, because obviously they meant it for like a band to reform, but they said
you were talking about like getting becoming sober, or
right, yes, or finding religion or something like that. And so, yes, Dave Mustaine of Megadeth famously became a Christian later in his career, and continues to be. But I did a research for that sin on who are some of the more famous examples of that, because it's kind of a common trope with rockers that they find religion later in their career for whatever reason. But yeah, Alice Cooper, Lou Gramm of Foreigner, Mark Farner of Grand Funk Railroad, Jonathan Cain of Journey. So yeah, there's Brian Welch was a more recent one of Korn, who kind of had one of those things. What's interesting, if you go read these experiences that they have, they're all very different, and it's just it's a real interesting look into how we all process the mystery around us. And many of them are like, yeah, I found God. That doesn't mean I stopped doing these things that I do. It just has to do with how I see the world. And others are like, it completely changed who I am, and now I don't drink and don't swear and blah blah blah. And then others are like, Dylan, who was a Christian for 2 years and then was like, no, I think I'm a Jew again. So like everybody has these journeys that they take through what they believe, and I don't know, I find that stuff really interesting.
Yeah, Alice Cooper's life is super interesting. I still remember when I guess he was speaking about finding God or just getting, whatever it is in the mid 90s. And he released this album called The Last Temptation. And they actually sold that at Christian music stores.
Yeah.
And it's not a Christian album at all. But I thought I always remember finding that really interesting because I'm a huge Alice Cooper fan. But yeah, he's been sober and since like the early 80s or something, I believe. I don't know. You might know more than I do if you did the research. But
I did. I found a really great article on all these stories. And Alice Cooper says, at the peak of his career, Cooper depended on alcohol so heavily that it nearly ended him. It wasn't until he was sober that he once again reconnected with his Christian faith, because I think he grew up as a Christian. As for his shock rock persona, Alice is still Alice. He says, there's nothing in Christianity that says I can't be a rock star. People have a very warped view of Christianity. They think it's all very precise and we never do wrong and we're praying all day and we're right wing. It has nothing to do with that. So like I said, like everybody kind of has this different way they're wrestling with what they believe, and I just love that stuff.
He's still, pre-corona, he was still doing hundreds of tour dates every year, and he's like well in his 60s, I guess, at this point. And people are always like, how does he do it? And I'm like, because he's healthy, because he's not doing drugs and he's not drinking and he's actually eating right and exercising.
Right.
It's like, God, I hope I'm that healthy when I'm like, it's crazy.
Some others, Nico McBrain of Iron Maiden is another one that's listed.
Yeah, I knew about that.
Little Richard is mentioned. Dan Spitz of Anthrax. Kerry Livgren of Kansas. Ringo Starr of a band called The Beatles. I haven't really heard of them.
I haven't heard of them.
And again, another more recent one, Kanye West, has talked about what he believes in his conversion recently.
Jesus,
and
right? Or what is he?
What's that? What did you say?
Isn't he Yeezus or something? Like, didn't he do some album or like?
Yeah.
He put the Y in there. But yeah, no. When you first read that, when I first saw the sin, though, because you're making a play on what they're saying, they're talking about a band reforming.
Right.
The first thing I thought of was like, are you saying like they aren't doing anything anymore? Because I was like, wait, Alice Cooper tours every year. Like, wait. Yeah. But then I realized what you were doing, and I was like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yep. And love to give a shout out there at the end to all my my fellow church sound workers.
That was fun.
What's that?
At the end of that sin where I'm like, and also the guy that pretends like he's loving running sound at your church every Sunday.
Is that just like is that just kind of a thankless job? Is that what you're?
I mean, it's just it's one of those things where it's like, you've used a soundboard before. You be in control of how the worship team sounds, kind of thing. So yeah, exactly. What about you guys? What's your keeping tab?
What you got today?
There was a sin on Phineas and Ferb that let's see. We've learned some alarming information, and the sin is that when considering landmass, the commonly used imagery of our world map is a lie.
So true.
And
I remember shadowing that. I remember reviewing that one really well, and I had notes and thoughts.
Just to, I don't know if this is going to jog your memory, but on this one was the one where you're like, you said I went over the script several times, couldn't find any reason to cut anything, so here's some commas you should add.
I do remember this.
Yeah. Anyhow, so I found this really great article on geoawesomeness.com/best map projection. There's some dashes in there too, but basically it was a really, really cool, quick example of why the map of our world is so difficult to actually create. I saw this kind of come across my social feeds when talking about the Gall Peters map. There was this ex-teacher who was kind of teaching her grandchild, I think, about how inaccurate the map is because it has like Europe as sort of the center, the largest, and it really isn't, and how that plays into world power and perception and even like other, world domination type stuff. And so the imagery of being larger is actually false. And so that was kind of my quick reference to remind me that something was about the map. But then this article was really cool. So it basically says there's the orange peel problem, which is essentially like, try as you might, you cannot flatten an orange peel without tearing, squashing, or stretching it. Mm-hmm. So likewise, the cartographers, when they try to flatten the earth for a map, there's a distortion coming on. And there are several different styles of map. And this article goes over the pros and cons of each. The Mercator one, sailors love because it preserves angles and directions in small area, but it's bad for understanding the real size and shape. The Gall Peters is the only area correct map of its time, but it has, I guess, galled the cartographer community in the 1980s. So there's it looks really warped when you look at it because
it has to warp. You have to warp one thing to make the other correct. So if you want the area correct, you have to warp the angles and directions. So yeah.
So like the Robinson map shows the entire world at once, but it compromises the area and angles, especially in the poles. The Winkle triple map.
That's my favorite.
It has a reasonably accurate shape and size of countries, but the land masses closer to the poles are still enlarged. And then there's one called the Authograph, which is super freaking cool looking. Highly recommend you look it up. Authhagraph. It's hands down the most accurate map projection in existence. It is proportionally perfect that it actually can fold into a 3-dimensional globe when you fold it. Created by a Japanese architect named Hashime Narukawa. Invented the project in 1999 by equally dividing a spherical surface into 96 triangles, which were then projected onto a tetrahedron, which not only helped maintain the proportions of land and water, but also helped to unfold the map into a perfect flat rectangle. Narukawa, however, insists that if the map is refined a step further to increase the number of subdivisions, its accuracy will improve even more. It's won awards. It is the most accurate one. And the only con that this article referenced is that the Arctic Circle gets somewhat squashed. But it is the most accurate. And it's really interesting, too, because as it's laid out in a rectangle shape, the continents almost look like a smile kind of splashed across its surface because it curves instead of looking at it where it's like, like almost like you're reading the map left to right. This one has a nice curve to it. So where it presents, in the upper left-hand corner is like Africa, then it kind of smiles down through. And then the upper right-hand corner has the tip of almost South America. So it's really interesting to look at. And I don't know, that was a kind of a fun little
really cool
bunny trail that I found.
I wonder how many people even really look at maps anymore, other than outside of like very specific jobs.
It definitely impacts the way you see the world. And if you don't believe that, ask a few people how many states would fit into Australia. Because you'll get various answers. Be like, maybe Texas, maybe, Ohio, Michigan, like the, upper Midwest area or whatever. The answer is all 48 continental United States. It is the same. Australia is the same size as the United States of America continental.
And then when you're looking at the U.S. compared to like Africa or something, we're just so tiny,
Yeah.
And it's really nice, I think, it gives a strong perspective on our place in the world. And I'm glad you said that, Aaron, because I think that was what was so fascinating for me is when you see yourself on a map or you see where you live on a map and then you realize just how small we are compared to our globe. And like for me, honestly, it was a nice little just mental breather. Like, man, there's so much more happening in the world right now. Like, let me just take a minute and be really thankful for my little bubble that I have here of like the life that I live, the people that are around me that are truly good people. Like, look how small I am. Like, this map is massive. It's I don't know. It was really cool. Kind of like one of those moments. And I wasn't even on drugs. It's just I was having a moment.
I was just on a map. Wasn't even on drugs.
On a map, man.
On the map.
Jonathan, did you go yet?
No.
Jonathan, what's your keeping tab?
Would you like me to talk about things?
Yeah. Do it.
Mine's really quick. I researched items that memorabilia items in the Batcave because
yes, that was fun.
There was a scene where they showed that penny and the T-Rex, which is like there is a Joker playing card, and you do see that later in the movie, but you don't see it in that scene. But it just seems like you always see that T-Rex and that penny, and I couldn't remember exactly where that stuff came from, so I did some research, and so the T-Rex came from an adventure that Batman had on Dinosaur Island, which was in Batman 35. And then the penny came from the Misadventures with Penny the Plunderer in World's Finest Comics number 30. So I was just pointing out that like, you know, all that was like 1947 was like the latest. And I was like, did he just, you know, quit collecting shit? But then I did actually look up some stuff. There are some other things that have been in there over the years, like different artists have done and stuff. There's the oversized playing card. The penny itself has changed origins. Eventually, because nobody knows who Penny the Plunderer is anymore, eventually a lot of people started writing that it was a Two-Face coin, which really doesn't make a whole lot of sense because Two-Face has a quarter. But he has actually also had a Two-Face coin in there. Deathstroke's sword was in there at one point. A shroud of a vampiric monk, oversized 10 pens, and a glass case display of Jason Todd's Robin costume. And for Aaron, that is Jason Todd. That was the Robin that was killed.
I know more than you
Joker.
Probably would think, but I'm
sure you know a ton.
I never read the comics, but
I know, but you've seen the.
Yeah, I know it through like pop
things.
culture osmosis kind of thing.
And then in Flashpoint, which was a big thing in the DC Comics universe, they're actually making a Flashpoint movie. There was a letter written from an alternate universe as Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, which was eventually stolen by our favorite Aaron Eobard Thawne. Is it Thawne? Is that how they say it?
Yes.
On the Flash. So yeah, just did a little information. Just was looking up all that stuff because
it's a different Flash. Danae, that's a different Flash.
I know.
What was that?
I was doing Flash
Queen.
Gordon.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah. Queen. Hell yeah. One of the greatest soundtracks ever.
One more story I have to tell you in keeping tabs because it's just one of those things that I want to share. But there's a pizza party at the end of Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, of course. Because why wouldn't there be?
Yeah.
You know, good day's work deserves a pizza party.
By the way, watching those turtles eat pizza was very gross. I just want to throw that out there.
Yes. Never eat pizza with me. I will gross you out. But Batman has this ominous thing where he's like, I have one more thing I have to tell you.
Oh my God.
Or whatever, right? And everybody's looking like, what's it going to be? And he says, it's pizza time. Now, that's hilarious enough as it is, right? And he steps out of the way and there's pizzas. If you know anything about my story, I have a heart condition that they're still trying to figure out where I have died a couple of times. My heart has stopped. The second time my heart stopped, I had just brought in pizza for my family and some friends. I turned around and said, it's pizza time, and then died. No. And so it's been a joke that in my family, the phrase "it's pizza time" was like a trigger phrase. So that like anytime anybody
like the Winter Soldier.
Yes, exactly. And like because I said it's pizza time, I triggered my phrase and I died. So that's kind of been a joke, a little gallows humor in the Dicer house. But so I sent this. I recorded this with my phone. This part of the movie of him being like, "One more thing before you go." It's pizza time. And I just sent that.
Ridiculous.
I sent that to my family and they loved it. And my oldest son's first response was, I'm dead. And I thought that was funny. So anyways, I just wanted to share that story.
It's really nice that you guys can talk about that though. I think that's healthy.
Yeah. Well,
really
it's
healthy.
easier when everything's okay, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that's kind of a Manchurian Candidate kind of thing, right?
Yes,
like
exactly.
that's what triggers you. But at least you don't become an assassin.
That's right.
I mean,
that's right. It's a mozzarella-ian candidate or something. Yeah, something along those lines. Let's move on to the comment section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We're each going to take a look at some comments from this week's content, or maybe only I am, because both Danae and Jonathan have thrown a few out there.
This is the week we start like 2 hours late. I have like 30 comments or something. Like I know.
Well,
technically, we didn't start 2 hours late.
No, we
just
did
talked
not.
for a long time.
Well, I mean, we started actually the show proper, but no, I can. we've talked about a lot of the things that I had comments on. That's why I had several, because I had a feeling we were going to be talking about some of this
Danae,
stuff.
did you did use all yours, so you don't have any for this segment? Is that correct?
Yeah, I didn't put any in there because I talked about others from them.
Jonathan, why don't you kind of run through yours and I'll run through mine. I have a couple as well. So,
well, first off, on the BTS video, Nathan Riley said "Behind the Sins" is the best podcast. I didn't know how not to include that, which I thought was really funny.
Of course, thank you.
And then the only other one I had was that we haven't really. I think every other one we've kind of gone over. Oh, I thought this was really, really funny. On Batman versus TMNT, Sweet Chicken Sir brought up, still not sure why the turtles need to wear masks. What identity are you trying to protect? The fact that you're one of 4 mutant turtles? And I've actually never thought about that.
That's a good point.
They literally have no identity to protect.
Yeah. No, I love that comment as well. I had that in mind too, and it's certainly story purpose. You know, they have different colored masks, so you know which one is which. And ninjas do wear masks, but you're not trying to protect your identity. That's
hilarious.
So I was glad they had the different colored masks, because that's how I figured out who was who. Because I had to look that up, like who wears which mask, because I don't know them well enough to know that. So.
Me either.
And we called them by their names and do plays on their names and stuff. So I had to have some way to know.
Yeah,
so
for sure. Here's a couple I'll mention. This one is from the Boys video. Fashionable Changeling says, Butcher knew that he wasn't speaking French. The saying, pardon my French, is a British saying meaning excuse my swearing. Don't ask why. I won't ask why. I will, however, say I thought, and I could be wrong because he or she was not the only one to say this. I thought that was a common enough phrase that everybody knew what it meant, and that's the joke. The joke is that the narrator would be so stupid that he wouldn't know what that means. So sometimes I find it interesting because there's enough comments where I'm like, maybe that's a phrase that people don't know.
It's one of those things that kind of falls under the dogs don't talk to me. Barrett and I actually had a conversation about this, because there's the one we just wrote a script for that I had a really obvious sin in there, and he almost deleted it, but then he was like, wait, no, actually, I think that's going to work because it is so obvious. Like, yeah, that's why I wrote it, because it's just one of those things where you're just like, this doesn't work, And
I would like to thank Danae for what is now the running sin of, and you know it. Which I will use again for sure. Rory says on, I think this is the Boys as well. This is the ineffective Congress sin, where it's like say the same thing twice. Red rojo, blue blau, or no, maybe it was it's the Batman one, because it's no, it is the Boys, the noir or whatever. Anyhow,
it was the black noir.
Black noir.
You were making fun of that name, which is ridiculous.
And Rory says, "Blue blau." You said, was that a Catalan reference? Did Aaron just speak Catalan in CinemaSins content? I can't believe it. I would never have expected you guys to have awareness of the language of my tiny, fairly unknown country. A million thanks. I would love to say it was a Catalan reference. It is, however, also blue in German. It was a German reference first, but you have the same word for blue as
you could have just told him yes.
I know, except that would be dishonest. It would have been dishonest.
Oh my god! You gonna tell this kid Santa Claus doesn't exist?
Take two.
Okay.
Take two.
This is, you know what? Hey, Aaron, I'm going to call this. This moment's called the bike trail moment.
Listen, you just ask other people to listen to this podcast. All right, I'm honest. So yeah, no, it is German and Catalan, and I was thinking Catalan because that's the country I love.
I was the one thinking German. Sorry,
I wanted to shout out.
That's how you do it.
And then Jared says medieval on his hiney. Is that a Weird Al reference I spot? Yes, indeed. It is. It is a Weird Al reference, and specific.
What is that from?
That's from Gangster's Paradise, Amish Paradise.
I couldn't remember if it was that or White and Nerdy.
It's Amish Paradise. Almost sure of it.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. I can picture it now.
And I would also say it is a specific Weird Al reference because of his connection to this universe. He is in the Phineas and Ferb universe, and even more involved in the next show, which is Milo Murphy's Law, where he's one of the main voices. So it's definitely a connection there. So I want to let you know that. All right, let's move on to Beyond the Sins.
To infinity
and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wildest dream.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We're each going to chat about something else from the world of pop culture that you've seen recently. Who would like to start us off? Which of you two would like to kick us off? Danae.
I will.
Go first.
I have a podcast to recommend called Reply All. Probably it's a popular podcast, so you may already know about it. But I really enjoy the back and forth banter and laughter that these guys have. It's from I think Gimlet Network. I think Gimlet is a network.
Yeah, that's
sounds right.
No, that's Malcolm Gladwell's network, isn't it? Gimlet Media?
I don't know for sure, Aaron, but they have quite a few, and I've not listened to any. This is actually a recommendation from Amelia, who we work with regularly. So shout out to Amelia. This is so fun. The guy's laughter is really, you know, there's some people's laughs that you just like, they brighten your spirit. And I kind of found that happening to me. She actually recommended like a particular episode for me to start with. And then before I knew it, I had listened to 4 episodes. And here is the description of the podcast from The Guardian, a podcast about the internet that is actually an unfailingly original exploration of modern life and how to survive it. And I thought that kind of summed it up well enough. These are the episodes that I listened to several, but the ones that I'll recommend is, for example, number 53, In the Desert, where strangers keep coming to this particular house because and claiming that when they triangulated the location of their stolen cell phone, that it pointed to their house. And this happened over and over and over again. And so it's kind of they're trying to figure out like what happened and what that was about.
Nice.
So that was a really fun episode because it was kind of like a little mystery that had a nice resolution. They're not all mysteries by any means, but then the other one that I was looking at is number 158, The Case of the Missing Hit. This one was really like I could not stop listening. I actually went and hid in my closet to get away from my kid and my husband so that I could just finish the last 5 minutes of the episode. I'm like, I gotta poop. Be right back. I just went and I hid myself away.
I gotta go find candy.
Yeah, exactly. A man in California is haunted by the memory of a pop song from his youth. He can remember the lyrics and the melody, but the song itself has vanished. He can't find it anywhere. He has completely scrubbed the internet. And so one of the hosts, PJ, takes on this mystery. And just how this whole thing plays out is aces, well done, and a really fun listen. But then they did this segment where it's called Yes, I think it's like Yes, No, Yes, or Yes, No, something like that. And essentially they bring in their producer and they bring up like a tweet or something that's happening in our internet culture. They've been tweets so far, so I'm assuming it's always tweets. And they read the tweet and they say, do you understand these references? And the producer's like, nope, I don't understand. So then they talk about it and they kind of go down every bunny trail until all of the references and things that are mentioned make sense to everyone. So that's kind of, I think, where the idea of like it's an exploration of the internet comes in. The one that I would recommend listening to is episode 51, called Perfect Crime. This starts off with a story about a Broadway show, but then they go into this epic yes, yes, no that spans the quote unquote galaxy of internet fights, which is where my question that you'll hear in the outtakes comes from with the whole leg washing thing. So there's this one particular moment in the leg washing conversation that had me crying. I was laughing so hard. And that's really the moment when you can hear these guys and their friendship and their cool like vibe back and forth together that makes Reply All a really addictive podcast. So if you're going to do any of the 3 I just mentioned, number 51, Perfect Crime, is where I would start from August 27th of this year. Super, super fun. And it kind of gives you, like I said, a little idea of what the show is all about.
I will, let me correct myself. This is definitely, I was very wrong.
Okay.
Pushkin is Malcolm Gladwell's podcast network. Gimlet Media is you may remember the podcast called Startup, where they would talk about, different people trying to start businesses, that kind of thing. Alex Bloomberg is the guy who did that. And then it expanded from there till they got bought by Spotify last year. And Spotify bought Gimlet for $230 million. So just as an aside, it has to do with nothing. I do own a podcast network. If anybody at Spotify is listening and would like
That's
to
what I was
offer,
gonna say.
A few million. I don't even need 230 million. Danae and I will take what 23 million. What do you think?
Sure.
23,000 sold.
I will say there's something about like our podcast. I feel like it's like we don't do a lot of production. Like investigative reporting and things like that. We're like a personality-driven podcast. This one has that kind of a blend of personality-drivenness, but then also it is produced, especially when they're doing like investigation work.
Yeah, they
like
call
with
those
the
narrative podcasts where they do
Narrative,
more
yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
editing and create a story.
I would like to tell you, I researched for an entire 30 minutes about the Batcave.
That's true. That is true.
That's true. But if we had gone out and talked to like 5 people in the industry and then like edited it down into part of our show, So I don't know. This podcast has kind of a blend of what I love, and then also
That's
like
neat.
a little bit of Radio Lab style, which makes sense because is it I'm gonna mispronounce Damiano Marchetti. I don't know. I'm looking at it right now as a producer on Reply All. Before Gimlet, he worked on other stories at Radio Lab and Planet Money. So the people who are involved in this definitely have a lot of experience, and you can hear it. It's a really fun one.
Sounds cool.
Blueburn co-founded Planet Money as well, and started as a producer on This American Life, which is where a lot of these narrative style podcasts kind of find their genesis.
But it has that fun thing where they do this fun segment, the yes, yes, no. It's just such a good concept of going, okay, do we understand this reference? And then just sort of fearlessly having a conversation about where it comes from, whether it's like a weird TikTok reference and you're learning about some TikTok kid who like vanished and then, tried to come back. Like there's just fun things that I'm kind of listening to.
Nice.
So anyway, again, called Reply All.
Reply All. Very nice. Jonathan, why don't you go next?
I'll talk about Lovecraft Country. We're 3 weeks into this series. It's the new HBO series for people that don't know. It's the new Sunday night HBO series, I guess. It was the one after Perry Mason ended a few weeks ago. And I still honestly don't know what I think of this show. Have you been watching it?
I am not interested in this show in the slightest. And I don't know why. I cannot tell you a reason why other than I am just not interested. And I haven't heard anything from the people I trust on pop culture stuff that watch it that interests me. All the stuff they talk about that's interesting to them is not interesting to me. And the stuff that they say is bad about it would annoy me. So I'm just like, I'm not
interesting. I don't know that there's anything really bad about it. I think the thing is that it's going to really depend on how the season goes, right? Like, I mean, it's one of those shows that's very dependent on like, I don't know exactly where it's headed. So it could keep getting better. Like I would say right now it's a good show. Like it's a very interesting show. Like I'm definitely I'm all in, right? I want to know where it goes. I just don't know that I can honestly say it's a great show or I can say it's a good show currently. It might become a great show. It could go the other way though, but it's essentially it's got a really good cast. Jonathan Majors from he was most recently in Da 5 Bloods. I have not seen. I think it's called Last Black Man in San Francisco, which I sadly have not seen.
It's really good,
but I know. Yeah, I'm sure it's amazing. I mean, it's on my list of things to watch, and I really like him, so I'm probably going to watch it sooner rather than later.
Jonathan, you should do what I do, and you make a list, but you never actually go back, and that way it doesn't weigh you down. You just know that it's out there somewhere.
I need to do that. I wish. I need to learn how to do that. I need to be taught by Danae the ways. But he plays a character that is looking for his father. His father has gone missing, and so he teams up. Basically, it's his uncle, played by Courtney B. Vance, which I mean he's been in like a lot of stuff. I think American Crime Story. He played
Johnny Cochran.
Johnny Cochran, yes. So anyways, so Courtney B. Vance played Johnny Cochran on American Crime Story. And then also, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm going to say Journey Smollett. She was in Birds of Prey.
Yeah. I always thought it was Journey Smollett, but...
Journey Smollett, let's do that. She played a Black Canary, I believe, in Birds of Prey. Yeah. I like her
she's great.
a ton. Oh my God, and she's so good on this show. But anyway, so this takes place in the 1950s. And so these are 3 black characters traveling in, I think they're in the South in the 1950s. So this show really gets in. It deals with this is the part I think you would like, Aaron.
For
it
sure.
deals with racism. Is this the part that people you've heard have said is bad though?
Well, I've heard that it deals with racism, but it's also so confusing that it doesn't service its message well. That it gets lost and becomes such a mess so quickly that there's nothing
interesting
that lands with that. That's what I've heard. I could be completely. I haven't seen it.
Interesting.
So
I don't know. I definitely would not say that. There's some really interesting things that happen. Now it is more definitely. I would say that's not the show's main concern. I mean, it's definitely like, I guess you'd call it a thriller. I mean, it's got some horror elements because there are monsters. It's called Lovecraft Country, so anybody knows who H.P. Lovecraft is. There are Lovecraftian monsters involved in this, and that ties into the storyline in a really interesting way too, because Jonathan Majors' father is a literary guy, and so Jonathan Majors grew up reading all these different authors and stuff, and so that kind of ties into everything. And like I said, it deals with racism in really interesting ways, and they're on this journey to get to this place. And in the first episode, I learned about what a sundown town was, which I never even knew that was a thing, or I didn't remember if it was. And there is one of the coolest suspense scenes. I mean, this is like Hitchcock levels of suspense, where they're trying to get out of town before the sun goes down, and it's such a well just shot sequence. Like, I was legit like on the edge of my seat, like, oh my god, like, what is gonna happen here? And so there's stuff like that in it, but then also there's the monster stuff doesn't interest me as much yet. And I don't really know why, but mainly because I think that stuff interested me so much. And then all of a sudden, now they're having to like team up with these people that were trying to kill them, because now they've got these monsters to deal with. And then after that's over, it goes into a completely different territory. I mean, like, I will say this, all 3 episodes have gone nowhere near where I thought they would go. I mean, it keeps you on your toes. You never know where the story's headed. I did not read the book. The book is written by Matt Ruff. I have heard vastly different opinions on the book. I think I'm glad I haven't read it though, because like I said, I think maybe that's why the show is intriguing me more, because I really don't know where it's going. So it's a recommend based on what I've seen so far. But at the same time, like, I don't really know what I think of it yet, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But I just know I'm interested enough to keep watching.
I think my general take has been, I haven't heard anything that makes me feel like I have to watch it right away, and so I'm going to let other people kind of experience it, and then if it becomes something really special, I'll go back to it.
For me, and I'll let you know. For me, knowing you, what you like, I don't think the horror elements are going to turn you off.
Okay.
If you're concerned about that, I don't think that would be an issue.
Okay.
Because, I mean, and I'm not saying it's not a horror series. I believe it probably is, but there's so much. There's a lot of genres.
But it's not American Horror Story.
No, absolutely not. No.
Right. No, yeah, that's what I
figured. nothing like that. I'm trying to even think of there's nothing to compare it to, really.
Which is a
really
good sign.
Interesting.
That's a good sign.
There's a really interesting voice behind it. But I've heard people say the novel is amazing, and then I've heard people say it's one of the worst things they've ever read. So it's crazy, like you're saying. It's all over the map.
Yeah.
But I love the cast. I like the weirdness of it, and I'm really curious to see where it goes. So that's kind of my take on it. That's what I've been watching the last week. So
Lovecraft Country on HBO. We will stay on HBO, where I watched a documentary called Class Action Park. This is a documentary film that HBO has released, and if you've got HBO Max, you can check it out. It is about an actual theme park in New Jersey that started in the late 70s called Action Park.
Oh, this is what what's his name made a movie about, right? Or kind of like a fictional version of it.
Yes.
Johnny Knoxville.
Yes, the Johnny Knoxville.
I have not seen the movie, but I remember the trailers and stuff.
Film is based on this idea. And you watch a movie like that and you go, haha, isn't it funny how they made it seem like you could get away with all this stuff and have an actual dangerous place where people died and got injured and it didn't get shut down.
Wow.
This is an actual place where multiple deaths have occurred, multiple injuries, and was allowed to continue to operate, for many years, all the way through the 80s. And is technically a version of it is still open now, but obviously under better regulation and supervision. The documentary is interesting in a couple ways. Number one, it's interesting just to see people talk about this place that kind of lives in the myth of this area, and to see kids who went there talk about what it meant to them and how you would go to this place knowing that the fun of it was you could actually get hurt. Like, it was one of those things where there were no rules. It goes into how everybody that worked there, like was on site, were just teenagers from the area who were not given any training or, anything. It goes into who owned it and, just kind of the nefarious kind of background to the ownership. Like, it really kind of digs into how this happened, what happened, and some of the stories from it. There's an interesting balance. This is the other part I really liked about this movie, which I really did enjoy and would recommend, is it balances this thing of almost a nostalgia for the 80s where there wasn't regulation, where kids could just be kids and, leave the home and just go ride their bikes and do what. So it's kind of got that element to it too, where it's like sometimes kids just have to be kids and scrape their knees and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It balances that with how awful it was that there was nobody at the top actually caring and actually regulating, and that people lost their lives because of those decisions. Like, that's a huge deal. So that's a very tricky balance for this documentary to kind of thread that needle. And the best documentaries, in my opinion, are the ones that let the thoughts and the attitudes come from the subjects that they're interviewing and the things that they're talking about, and not like have something that they're trying necessarily to say. And I think this movie does that really well, because you can definitely hear from some of these kids that went there how much they loved this place. And then you can also hear from the mom and dad that never got to see their kid, grow up because this place killed their child. You know what I mean? So you have both of those things coming together and saying, and so you get to observe and draw your own conclusions, draw your own sadness from that and interest to that. So it's a really take a drink fascinating documentary, and I really enjoyed it. So
no, I didn't even know this existed. I don't think I've seen like previews for it or anything. This is on HBO currently, or that's already aired, I guess.
Yeah, it's already aired, and so it's available on HBO Max.
Cool, check it out.
To stream. And again, it's called Class Action Park, and it is. Yeah, it's based on a real place called Action Park in New Jersey that was half water park and half motor park, and it's just the insanity of what this place was is mind-boggling. So
yeah, the movie didn't really appeal to me just because I wasn't a Jackass fan, and just Johnny Knoxville's style of humor is not really my thing. So I just avoided the movie. But the whatever it was based on always kind of interested me. So I'm glad there's a documentary.
Yeah, I just assumed they were exaggerating things for that movie just to be a movie. Kind of thing. Like you do when something says based on a true story, you just kind of go, yeah, I get it, not a true story. The real story is worse. Like it's incredible, like how much worse the real place was. I kind of want to tell you all these things. I guess
I don't even know how this ever existed. Like, and this is in the United States, right? Like, this is
yeah. They had. I'll just give you one example of something that happened at this park.
Okay.
They had a loop-de-loop water slide that was not designed by engineers or anybody who knew anything about physics. That was just a plastic tube that did a full loop-de-loop, and you had to get going fast enough that you would go through the loop-de-loop, and if you didn't, you would come out the other side bruised, missing a tooth, bloody, whatever, because you just slam around in this loop-de-loop and come out the other side. So they realized this after a little bit that this was running, and so they opened up the top, and they put padding at the top at the top of the loop, and people, so people wouldn't get beat up. But then people started coming out with like lacerations all over their body, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. They opened the top of this thing, and people are cutting themselves because human teeth are stuck in this padding from how hard people are hitting that and kids are losing their teeth in this thing. And so now those human teeth are cutting people as they go through this loop-de-loop.
Gee, oh my God.
It's almost a horror movie. Like it's
What's crazy is, as you were talking about this, I'm having these memories. We used to have these two places that we could go when we were kids. One was this water slide park, where you knew that if you took this corner fast enough, you could
fly off,
jump over lanes.
Yeah.
And also, it had been made out of concrete, and then it had been so every lane was concrete lane, and then they'd obviously laid down whatever layers of paint and slipperiness so that you would slide on it. But obviously concrete has those little bumps on it. And so even over all of the years of people going down on it and it kind of getting worn down, if you fell off of your little, and literally you would ride down on, just imagine a yoga mat. You were given basically a yoga mat to go down these things.
I've seen the very similar rides at Action Park that...
okay.
Yeah.
So this is what we had. And so it's concrete lanes, a little yoga mat, and then your speed and your weight was all you had going for you. And I don't know that there were stories about injuries. I'm sure there are plenty, but it was such a bummer when the place closed down. And for many, many years, you could actually drive by, and you could see the big walk to get to the top and have all these memories of, you just knew if you fell off your mat, you're probably going to have a little arm burn going down. And yeah, you could fly off the side if you really went for it. And I'm sure there were plenty of things that happened there that I would never know. So that was one thing that came to mind. And the other one was that there was this barn swing we used to be able to go to, and we would go there with youth groups on big buses. And it was this farm that had several barns, and they just made these big things where you could just climb up a ladder, attach yourself to a harness, and just jump off of high heights and swing around. And you could do that inside in the barn in 4 or 5 locations where they actually, had, anyone who has a farm back in the day, you'd put a swing in the middle just to keep kids entertained or whatever. And then you jump in the hay. So it was very similar to that. You could swing around, and if you got the right speed, you could reach your legs out and you could launch off of the walls and keep spinning. And the cool kids are the ones that could keep their swing going longer and longer and longer because they were long enough to reach. So then they had to make rules about time, and you could only be on the swing for a certain amount of time, otherwise the big kids would never get off. There was this one particular room, massive room, where it was 2 or 3 big barn swings that you climb up and you jump off of or whatever, and the entire floor was covered in mattresses. And it was just layers and layers of twin mattresses, king mattresses. I'm sure the family is just we'll take whatever used mattresses you've got. Stained mattresses. I mean, and you get to jumping around on the mattresses as well. People would lose their shoes in the mattresses. You'd lose your money because they had a snack place. You'd lose your money in the mattresses. So I'm just having this, and I'm sure I have the energy of, as a kid, it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I don't remember injury stories.
Right,
but
because as a kid, you're invincible.
You can't do that anymore.
As a kid, you feel like you're invincible. Yeah, and you can't. And there is some sort of loss there of childhood in some ways. I think it's I think it's a necessary loss, but there is something about, I don't know, and maybe I'm completely wrong, and maybe it's just nostalgia talking, but there, the ability to, one of the guys was saying in this documentary, he was like, look, you could come back to school on Monday and ask somebody how their weekend was, and they'd be like, yeah, me and the friends, we went and explored this shut down mental hospital and went through the basement, and there were some, druggies down there or whatever. And then somebody else would say, yeah, my family and I went to, such and such New Jersey to spend some time on the lake. And those are both completely normal answers in the 80s. It's one of those things where it's just kids just did stuff. And so, this again, this documentary captures it so well, and it still gives reverence. In fact, mainly, I think, gives reverence to the importance of regulation in these kind of things, but also says, there's something about a place that feels like there are no rules for a kid that they can learn some things. And so, I really enjoyed it and would highly recommend it. It reminded me of, this is down your way, Jonathan, but right outside Crossville, there is the world's largest tree house used to be there, and they've shut it down for these reasons. But my family, probably 10 years ago, visited this place, and the entire time was just like, man, this is awesome. And also, we're all going to die. This is not put together well.
Yeah, I never went, but no, I've heard stories about it.
And so you're 100 feet in the air in this rickety treehouse that has been built by this man who just keeps adding parts to it. That's how this thing got built. Some guy just kept adding parts to this giant treehouse.
Yeah.
No engineer has come and inspected this. This is not, and you just come
You're
out.
on private property.
It's on private
Probably
property.
Sign some waiver.
Yeah. And so our whole family is up in this thing, and it's like, yeah, this is kind of amazing. And also, we're going to die. Like,
We're in danger right now.
So, I don't know.
It's like the unsafe,
like
there. They have those climbing towers and stuff now that are like regulated, like, they're built by engineers and stuff. My daughter goes and does them sometimes. She really likes them. But yeah, it's like the really rickety version of that,
Yeah.
Well, that's terrifying. I don't like heights anyway, so the treehouse thing never interested me, but I have plenty of friends that went and did it and had really crazy stories. This is the water park, motor park version of the world's largest treehouse. And
thank you.
So I think you guys will love watching this. And that's a weird thing to say because I know there's some emotional beats to it, but it is definitely one of those stories that I think is interesting to watch and to be told.
The history of entertainment for
man.
Before the world of the internet, when you had to go out and find things to entertain you, you found very dangerous things to entertain you.
No lie. Well, that's going to wrap it up for Behind the Scenes this week. Don't forget to make sure you are subscribed. Go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. Hang out with us on Twitter. We're at CinemaSins BTS. I am at Aaron Dicer. She is at Danae Says.
DENEESAYS.
He is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, and myself, we'll see you next week.
Bye!
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to bts@cinemasins.com. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. Find more ways to connect by visiting cinemasins.com/BTS.
'Cause I just want you to know the downside to a latte is the energy crash. It's time for a nap in the middle of the show. Do you think Aaron will even know? Hello? I win. For being first?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that there were prizes. Are there prizes?
No. I mean, just the prize of knowing you're the best. And
just bragging rights?
Yeah, you're more dedicated to your craft than anybody else.
That week. I was just thinking, I really do need to start keeping track of what I recommend and talk about on the show because I don't remember anymore. So I should maybe, as I go back, I'll try to remember who actually got here first and just start keeping track of that too.
Nice. Put it on a list of things you keep track of.
Our attendance. Actually, you've been first the most.
I've done the math, and over all the episodes, you are at a +7, and I'm at a +3. So technically, overall, I'm earlier.
Super freaking duper. Mom, Phineas and Ferb aren't wearing their masks. What serious conversation we've found ourselves in today.
Yeah, I don't know
Aaron,
that I can use any of this for the outtakes.
None of this is going to be in the outtakes.
This will go in the outtakes. Sorry, the outtakes are shorter this week, but we had a conversation about COVID, politics, and religion. 3 things that we're not putting out there.
I'm using my phone as a hotspot, so we'll see how this works.
Oh, shoot. Are you guys out of internet?
We've got bad weather. Yeah, I lost my internet.
Did you run out?
Shit.
Did somebody forget to tell you when they opened the last gallon of internet?
Dang it. I have a really important question for you guys.
Ooh.
Do you wash your legs in the shower?
Okay, you're gonna make me talk about this, aren't you? As if I don't get enough flack for going commando, you're gonna make me go into my shower practices.
I don't understand the question. I mean, I wash my whole body.
Okay, so I was listening to a podcast. I think I'm going to talk about it in Beyond the Sins, but I was listening to this podcast, and they have this episode where they're like, one of the biggest internet debates is if someone says, okay, so like you could tweet something out and everybody has to comment on it. One of those things apparently is if you tweet out, like, does anyone wash their legs in the shower or something like that? Everyone has to comment on it.
A hot dog, a sandwich kind of thing.
Right. Like everyone has an opinion and they're going to have something to say about it. So I just have never thought about this before. But then the guys that I was listening to, they kind of just went back and forth. And it was a fascinating conversation to listen to. And I thought, oh my God, am I weird?
Because
so
you wash
them? Ask you guys. I wash my legs because it's important for me to use a little scrubby to exfoliate a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not super thorough every time, but then you got to move those hairs around so they don't turn to ingrown hairs, and you got to get the dead skin cells off. And
so before I admit something that I will be rightfully mocked for, whatever, can you sum up for me the argument for not washing your legs?
The argument for not washing your legs is people say that the water just drips down them anyway. There's soap and water.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're not scrubbing them.
Right. There's no washing. It's just that by default you are bathed.
I do not shave my legs though, and as someone who I guess does that help? Does that help clean as well? I don't even know.
Oh, my sweet summer child! You think I shave my legs?
I knew that was coming.
I not only wash my legs, but I lotion them up and all kinds of stuff.
Good for you.
If I don't, I'm just going to have the itchiest, nastiest, driest skin ever. So
that's a great segue. I haven't used soap in, I'm going to say a couple decades.
Matthew McConaughey over here. All right.
So here's the thing. And the reason
I forgot. How did I forget?
I don't know. I just rinse off.
I did not set you up on purpose.
No, I rinse and scrub. But I do not use soap. And the reason being is soap is good for, germs, dirts, oils, those kind of things that get on your skin. However, it's also good for taking away all of your skin's natural defenses against the world around it. Lots of those oils that your skin naturally produces are purposeful. They're to keep you from getting dry skin, to keep you, from getting all those things. Danae, we've worked together for,
almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years now. Is my hygiene awful? Am I, do I often smell bad? Is that something you've dealt with me?
No.
Okay.
I've never noticed your smell before.
So you're saying you just use you just get a scrub wet and then you just scrub your body?
I use my hands to scrub my body. I just rinse off, make sure especially the parts of the body that are creased or
Do you wash your
creviced. I wash my hair every other day ish.
I mean, you use shampoo though. You're not just using water.
Yes, I use shampoo.
He's just using the power of prayer.
So yes, Danae, you are correct. I did a lot of research, and whether it's just confirmation bias or whatever, found that washing ourselves with as many outside influences is just as much impacted by economics as it is actual health. That we have industries that are built on health and beauty and cleaning, and many of the things that they provide us are not necessary except for their bottom line. And so I stopped using body soap of any kind.
Wow.
And
but do you use deodorant?
I do wear deodorant. Yes.
Okay.
Just to keep the normal human body odor.
So you don't use lotion at all either?
No lotions, nothing like that. I drink a lot of water too, so
What about toothpaste?
I do. I definitely brush my teeth.
That's good. Okay. All right.
You ask about my shaving habits, so might as well since we're on the topic. I have never used shaving cream or any kind of gel. I always shave with just a razor.
Oh, that's terrifying. Do you grow a full-on beard though?
I shave currently. I've started shaving twice a week. I usually shave once a week. And
the answer is yes. He can grow a beard.
And by about the week, I've got I've definitely got hair.
Because not everybody can.
Face.
So that's a
I
legit
personally
question.
can't. Yeah. So, but this man has already started buying. Every time he goes to the grocery store, he gets 2 bags of candy to prepare. And now he's hiding them around the house so that I don't open them and get a couple of my favorite treats. And so the other day I was like, hey, I was going to go get one of the Reese's peanut butter cups. And he's like, well, I think I hid them in the storage area. And I was like, okay. So I go into the storage area and I'm in there for probably 5 minutes. Can't find a single thing of candy anywhere. So I come back upstairs and can't find the candy. He has forgotten where he's put.
This is why you don't hide.
So now we're in the situation where we're kind of doing this Easter egg hunt thing.
I was just thinking that, generally at Halloween, a lot of people would wear a mask. But as stubborn as people are this year about masks, I wonder if this would be the first Halloween where people would every costume would be non-mask related because they're just refusing.
They cut all the nose and mouth parts out of the masks just to be obstinate. I'm going as Batman this year because that covers all the parts except the main parts.
You joke, you kid. What the?
That reminds me of growing up when I was a youngin'. We were traveling somewhere with my grandma and grandpa, my dad's parents, who were very like laced up, conservative, kind of family. And I looked at my grandma, who was probably, I don't know, 50 at the time, 55 at the time, and said, "Grandma, do you have a penis?" And apparently the look, and by the way, I don't remember this. I just know this from the story I've been told. I don't remember a lot of my childhood.
That's so amazing.
And she didn't say anything. She just, stood there or sat there, and we're all in a car, so she can't escape. And so my mom turns around from the front seat and goes, "Well, answer him, Mabel." Oh, that's where I get it from. That's where I get it from, guys. We're never going to do a show because I have to tell you this story. It was just one of those moments where I became someone I'm not. And I don't know if you have those moments, but I was at a park riding my bicycle and just riding around like you do. And when you come up upon a walker, my practice has been, if they are walking all the way on the right, I just pass them on the left. I don't say anything. There's plenty of room. I'm not worried about it. If they're towards the center even at all, when I'm about 20 feet out, I will say "on your left" to let them know that I'm coming, and then they'll move over and I'll go past. And some of them, everybody reacts differently. Some will just move over, and others will act like the world is ending, like throw their hands up and like jump out of the way. And it's like, no, I told you in plenty of time. It's okay. But I don't say something if I don't feel like it's necessary. Like there's no chance of an accident. There's no chance they're going to just like jump to the right 5 feet at the last second kind of thing, or jump to the left. And so I came by this couple, and I didn't realize they had a dog. And so the dog comes, and I had plenty of time to. I'm very aware. I'm a very aware rider, and I had plenty of time to stop. So I stopped for the dog, and then I think they had that thing where they probably felt bad for the situation, but also felt like it was my fault. And so the guy starts laying into me like, you know what people do? They say something. The other bikers will say something when they come by. You should say something. And I got so defensive, like in the moment. Like it wasn't like it was going to come to fisticuffs, but I was very much like, well, I do say something. And of course I'm riding my bike, so I want to keep riding. He's like, "No, you don't. You've never said something." And then I like turned and yelled back, "Ask anybody else on the trail," or something like that. And so then I'm going around for another loop, and I'm going to come by then again, and the whole time I'm thinking, who was that guy? Who are you? Why
you never do that.
It's not you. Like that's not.
Oh my God! Hold on. Can I make a prediction?
Oh sure.
Okay. Danae predicts this. Okay, and Jonathan, you can do this too. Let's play the game. How do you think the story ends? I predict that Aaron decides to stop and apologize and
that would be my guess.
And have a slight conversation of clear the air with these people. That's my guess.
And then they went and had coffee.
No, he doesn't drink coffee, so it can't go that way.
No, that's true.
Okay.
They had non-sugary chocolate chip cookies or whatever he calls them
that he keeps on his bicycle in a sweaty little pack around his stomach. His little fanny pack.
Whatever your super taster restaurant chocolate chip cookies. I can't remember what you called them. But anyway.
Well, I don't need to finish the story because apparently I'm very predictable. But yeah, I slowed way down to where I was kind of biking the same speed as them. Said "on your left," and then as I was kind of alongside of them, apologized and just said, "Hey, I'm so sorry. You're absolutely right. I should, always say something, and I didn't see that you had your dog, and I will do better." And he said thank you, and we gave each other thumbs up, and all was good.
Spanked you on the ass as you went by.
But those things happen, right?
Yeah.
You just sometimes you react, and not everything's black and white. Like,
but as humans, we have this thing where we get defensive, especially when there's not a lot of time. I was kind of panicked.
Well, he was being defensive.
Right. No, of course. Yeah. And so, it becomes something that doesn't have to be something. And so, I wish, and oftentimes I hope in moments I can be more thoughtful. But in those moments where I've only got a split second before I'm by them and around again, what do you do in a split second? You defend yourself, and I defended myself, and I shouldn't have. I should have apologized. And so I did that the next time around.
You fart and laugh. It's so incredible how quickly an apology can diffuse emotion, even if you don't feel like you're the one that should do it first or even should do it at all. I learned this when Aaron and I were we had someone that was a consultant for our show, and we were wanting to move forward in our business and in our show. And our consultant said that one of the things we could do was to go back to people we used to work with and have a conversation about, like what potentially went wrong, but start with an apology. And I was like, for what? We didn't do anything wrong. And it was really hard for me, but I did it anyway, but I only did it because he told me to. That was it. But since then, I've learned there's something really powerful about that, and that I do have something I could always think about that I could have done better, that I can apologize for, that is something I'm in control of, and that it's something really beautiful. And what's really interesting is that I do this with Iris. If I snap at her and I know that I could have been more patient, I'll tell her. I'll say, Iris, I'm sorry.
We do that
I
too.
yelled and I shouldn't have done that. And what's really interesting is, as a not even 3.5-year-old, as a 3-year-old now, she on the regular will come to me at a different point in the day after something happened, and she'll say, Mommy, I wanted to tell you that I'm sorry because I really was yelling at you earlier, or do you remember earlier when I bit your nipple? I'm really sorry about that. Or like whatever she's done.
I remember that conversation with my boys too. They were always so apologetic afterwards.